everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You made it. You're here. We are live. My name is Mark Wallace. In just a second, James Patrick is going to be joining us to teach us all about the modern marketing playbook. It is everything you need to know about marketing your business in today's new world. But we want to first figure out who is here, who is joining us. We have a few people here. It looks like Josh is here joining us. He's very excited. And then this looks like Coach Case. I don't have my glasses on. Me, I'm here. So if you're here, let us know where you're coming from in the comments below. And also, I want to remind you that there are class materials for today's class. And so you can find those in the description of the video. You can click on those and download them. You can also purchase this course. Remember, it's free while it's live. And then we're going to let it play for about 24 hours. And after that, you have to purchase this course on CreativeLive to watch it, or you have to be a CreativeLive subscriber. And so if you want to do any of those things, just go and click on the description of this video, and you will find the link to purchase this course, and you'll also find the link to all of the class files. So we're going to find out where people are from here. And yeah, my voice is echoing. We'll fix that. I think it might just be this crazy room. We'll find out about that. We've got Shane Baker Studio in Mesa, Arizona. Sounds like I'm echoing a lot. A lot? How's that? Is that better? Okay, we might have to shut off Mr. James Patrick. All right, let me know if that's better. I just shut off the other microphone, so I think that might be it. Let me know in the comments below if we still have that crazy echo, and then I'll know how to fix that. We've got somebody here from Phoenix. We've got somebody here from Buenos Aires. And then let me know if the echo is fixed or not. Getting a lot of people saying, hey, check your audio. I just checked it, and I think I fixed it. There's about a 30-second delay. So as we're doing that, what I want to do is I want to introduce you to James Patrick. He is in the studio here. And so without further ado, I'm going to hop over to James. And James, take it away.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Mark. So what we're going to be diving into today is one of my favorite topics, which is how we build, market, and sell our photography business. So I want to lead in before we get into a lot of stuff. Just a few housekeeping things. As Mark mentioned, we have a couple resources for you that go along with this course. One of them is a resource guide. This thing is packed with everything from email scripts to sales scripts to templates for a marketing plan rollout. So that is available. That is on the class page. Also, there's a workbook that you can actually follow along this class with, and that is also available on the class page. I'll be referencing the workbook as we go through this. Now, for this class, one of the most important things about this is I want this to be as interactive as possible. So the more you can voice your questions, your concerns, your curiosities, the more I can tailor specific elements of this course to help you in your business, to give you clarity where there once might have been confusion. So with that being said, for the last 15 years, each year I get invited to go to different colleges and review students' portfolios who are about to graduate and offer any feedback or insights I can for them on what they can expect as they're entering into the marketplace. And I can tell you that in 15 years of reviewing student portfolios, every single portfolio I've looked at for a decade and a half was good. It was fine. The work was okay, great, even. Meaning every single portfolio I looked at had market viable work. Every single student I looked at had work that they could get work immediately shopping their portfolio around. And that should, one, make you be a little bit nervous to realize that hundreds, if not thousands of new competitors are entering the marketplace every single year, all with market viable work. So if your only differentiator, if the only thing that you have that you think this is why I'm going to get hired over someone who's just out of college is that I do better work, that's not going to cut it. Everyone is doing market viable work, and that's no longer a differentiator that's going to help you stand out. Now, perhaps this should give you a little bit of relief when I would ask all these students, okay, what is your plan for how you're going to be marketing this book of work, which is viable? The response is, well, you know, I thought about setting up a website, or I've thought about, having an Instagram. And that's about as far as a lot of them have gotten. And if that's as far as they've gotten, and you're doing one extra thing, okay, you're going to be one step ahead already, all right? So I'm curious, for the people who are tuning into this, what is the biggest frustration you have, or the thing that perplexes you the most when it comes to your marketing or your business development or your sales for your photography business, your videography business, your creative business? What is the thing that perplexes you the most when it comes to marketing, business development, and sales? And I want you to add that into the chat section of this video. So as we're waiting for those to come in, I fell into this trap myself, thinking that I just needed to have the best portfolio, or the latest gear, or maybe the most impressive studio, and that was the thing that was going to get clients to start hiring me. And when I would spend all my time building my portfolio, which, yeah, is important, and no time on the marketing and business development, yeah, my portfolio is getting great, but no one's seeing it. And if no one's seeing my portfolio, that's not really benefiting me in any way. So I'm curious, what is the biggest frustration or confusion or thing that you would like clarity the most on when it comes to your marketing and business development?
So right now, we don't have anybody commenting about their big frustrations just yet. But if you do, please put those in the comments below. Let us know, what is that thing that you need the most help with? And then James is going to give us the answer to that.
So as we're waiting for that, it's important to understand that talent itself is not what's creating demand. It's the marketing that's creating demand. So if we were to think about like just two photographers, and you have one photographer who's just the most amazing photographer in the world. He's so amazing. He's got his shades on. There we go. And he's confident AF. But he has no marketing. Then you have a photographer who's, we'll just say average. They got big eyes, big aspirations. They are just hoping that they can grow a business at some point. But they put all their energy into their marketing and their business development. Well, this person is going to have a calendar that is entirely booked up. And this person, it's not going to have much at all. I don't know if anyone has seen that South Park episode with the pants, and it comes up with the kids ask him, well, why are you stealing all these underpants? And the trolls say, well, it's part of our big master plan. Phase 1 is we're going to steal all the underpants. Phase 2 is a giant question mark, and phase 3 is profit. And he says, well, what's phase 2? And they couldn't figure out what phase 2 was. It says, well, phase 3 is just profit. And we know what phase 1 is. Well, phase 2 is where we're going to be focusing this conversation on what we are trying to do to get people to see our work, to get people to build trust and rapport with us, to build enough confidence that they want to hire us, and then to eventually refer business back to us. So it's important to understand that photography itself isn't always what people are purchasing. Not specifically. When someone wakes up in the morning, they don't think, well, I need to buy a photograph today. What are they buying? They're buying certainty or confidence. They're reducing risk. They're trying to buy results. So what they are purchasing from you is not just the photographs that you're taking. What they're purchasing from you is the outcome that those photographs can produce. So the photograph itself is the vehicle, not the actual product you're selling. So my background, I've been a commercial and editorial photographer for about 20 years. And I want to point something out when I say that I've run a multi-six-figure photography business for that entire time. is, well, we're going to get on our phones and we're going to post a lot more content. And we're going to hope that that content gets us a lot of followers. And then from there, maybe we just run a few ads. And then we hope that people inquire from us, that we start to get people entering our inbox or entering our DMs saying, you know what, I'm interested in working with you. And for anyone that's doing that, I'm curious what the efficacy that they're seeing is. But what the new model is really 6 parts. The first is we want to attract. So we want to develop systems that attract our target audience and our target clients to us. From there, our goal is to reinforce our value. So we've captured their attention, but now we want to remind them of why we are valuable to them. And with that, we're trying to build trust. From there, we look for opportunities to convert. So we're converting them from a warm lead into someone that's actually a client, someone that's actually hiring us. And a lot of people stop right here. And you could run a business that way, you could stop right there, but this is going to be a transactional business. I would argue that there's a few more steps. The next step I would argue is that we want to retain our clients. We want to be able to delight our clients through excellent services to actually retain their business. Because it is more expensive to attract a new client, exponentially more expensive to attract a new client than it is to retain a current client. And if we could generate more business from our current clients, that frees up so much time to do all the other work that we need to do. After that, are there opportunities to create incentivized referrals? Opportunities for our clients to actually refer us new business. As I was talking about this course, leading up to this course, one of the big comments I had was word of mouth is like the #1 thing I use to get leads for my business. Hey, word of mouth is great, but we should have systems that we're engineering to actually create those word of mouth opportunities.
So James, we have some comments that just came in. We're a little bit behind you guys. And so I want to throw these to you, James, so you can respond to them. And also, we fixed the audio. Sorry about that. That was a little glitch there, but now it is back. Let me go over here to James. And here are a few of the things that we are seeing. What are your biggest frustrations? Here they are.
Okay, so getting my work in front of my ideal demographic. Okay. Actually using my CRM for follow-up. That's a big one. I've used LinkedIn to search for jobs, uploaded my resume with my portfolio links, no responses. Small portfolio and an IG account. Yeah, thinking if I take better pictures, leads to more clients. Not sure how to find clients. How to successfully network. Oof, that's a big one. All right. Now, another question for you is, what is the main thing you are relying on right now to get leads or new business? So are you relying on Instagram? Is that your main tool right now? Is it word of mouth? Is it hopes and prayers? What is the #1 thing you are using right now to try to get new leads into your business? I'm curious, is anyone watching this running advertisements? And that's the main thing that you're relying on. Is it networking? So put in the chat what the main things you're doing right now to generate leads, or to try to generate leads. Like, it might not be working, to try to generate leads for your business. And let's put that in the chat. So looking back at this path here, from attraction, reinforcing our value, converting warm leads into clients, retaining those clients, getting them to refer business to us, and then repeating the cycle all over again. And like I said, so many people focus all their energy and attention on the first three. I'm just going to work on trying to attract more clients, give them value, and convert them, and then I'm going to start over. Attract new clients, give them value, and convert them. And around and around and around we go. But if we are able to bring this in, all of a sudden, this isn't a straight line, this is a loop. Because this repetition continues to go around and around, and what you'll find is this then starts to spread out exponentially, which is so extremely beneficial. So marketing isn't just about trying to create content. Like, I just need to constantly be in this cycle or this modality of pumping out so much content because I see everyone else making content, and that is the thing that is going to be the sole source of all my business, okay? Marketing is trying to create predictable client movements. And we want to move clients through this process, getting them to see us, building trust and rapport with them, converting them, retaining them, getting them to refer business to us, and then repeating the process all over again. So as we're trying to think about, and you're putting in the chat, I saw one or two pop up, the number one tool you are using right now to generate leads for your business, okay? I saw referrals come up. Okay, so referrals, word of mouth marketing. Yep. Nobody really wakes up thinking, I just need a photograph. And it was, we talked about what they want is credibility. They want revenue. They want a memory. They want confidence. They want a connection. They want status. I love this. Julie, hopes and prayers. Consistent behind the scenes of shoots is working well. Love that, Shane. We're going to talk about why that works. Referrals and Instagram. Okay, perfect. Referrals. So I'm seeing a lot of word of mouth. Lots of people leaning into word of mouth. Referrals in Google, thankfully. I'd love clarity on Google, what you are doing on Google. So word of mouth, put that into referrals right here. The fifth step, look at this like hopping a ladder, okay? Can you skip steps? Yes, you can skip steps. You can try to attract clients and immediately push them to a conversion. You can try to go from a conversion and immediately try to repeat that cycle all over again. You can skip steps, but the more steps you try to skip, the harder it is for someone to make that leap. But if you focus energy and attention on each of these steps, building a way to attract people, to reinforce the value, to convert them, to retain them, to build consistent referrals and repeat the process over again, the easier it is for people to work through this journey. And I saw someone comment that hopes and prayers are the number one thing that they're using right now. I get it. I get it. What was that other comment that we saw pop up? It was advertising. Okay, so I advertise at the high school. They haven't updated their website for seniors, so spent all that money for nothing. That is frustrating on an ad spend. We're going to talk about ad spend. All right, so we have someone who used, this was about Google, and they're using SEO on Google. We'll talk about SEO as well. All right, so I'm struggling to juggle multiple marketing avenues, tailored outreach, direct referrals from clients, introductions from existing network, and recently doing spec shoots as marketing. So how do we build a system that we can balance all these things together?
So while we're looking at those questions coming in, I want to remind you of a couple of things. So the first one is there are resources, there are downloads for this class. If you want to get those worksheets, just go into the description of this video and click on that link. You can download all the worksheets that we're working through today. Also, there's about a 20 or 30 second delay between what James is telling you and when we see your responses. And so as soon as you can type in your responses, that will help us to make sure we get this. And so I think we're caught up here. So James, back to you.
So looking at your worksheet packet, one of the first worksheets you're going to come across is a marketing audit. So this marketing audit is just a gut check response of where you think you are at in any of the following areas, from how dialed in is your website right now? How up to date is your portfolio? Are you doing any SEO at all? Are you doing email marketing at all? Do you have a lead magnet? Do you have an actual built referral system, not just people refer me business, but an actual way to engineer those referrals? Do you have a system where you are automatically following up with previous clients? Do you have a written out sales process? Do you have a way to generate repeat business from your clients? Do you have a way to gather feedback from projects on your client experience? So like a client feedback survey. So just rate yourself 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, of where you think each of these are at. And then what you can do is you can start to see if there are any leaks in your marketing system. So if I were to look at that, of where my business is at right now, one of the biggest things that I feel I could work on would be a lead magnet. I feel that a lead magnet is the thing that I'm losing opportunities with in my business. So you know what? That's a 1 for me right now, and that's somewhere I could see that, I could put a little attention here. Or, you know what? I haven't updated my website in years. It no longer properly communicates who I am or what I do. Or, you know what? I have no way where I'm following up with my previous clients who've already said that they trust me and like me. I have no way to follow up with them to see what they need next. Okay? So take a few moments to fill out that worksheet and determine where you are at in each of these. And I'm curious, for the people watching, what are your highest ranked ones? And then what are some of your lowest ranked ones? And let's put those in the chat. So you could just put what it is and then the number next to it. So you know what, I'm really bad at SEO, so SEO 1. Or you know what, I have a great email setup, so email is an 8 for me. I want to see what some of your scores are. So let's put that in the chat section. What is a lead magnet? We are absolutely going to talk about what a lead magnet is. See a couple people asking about lead magnets. So we are going to talk a lot about those.
Fantastic. And I just want to remind people that these worksheets are in the description of this video. Just go ahead and click on that. You'll see the links there. Also, this class is free to watch while we are live, and then we're going to let it play for about 24 hours. And then if you want to own this class, you can on CreativeLive. And so just go in there, and on the description of this video, you can see where you can buy this class, or you can become a subscriber to CreativeLive and have access to the entire platform, and you can see all these different classes. This is a highly interactive class. This is probably the most interactive class we've done in a long time. So as we're going through these worksheets, make sure you download those and fill those out. And then this class is based on your feedback. And so as James is asking these questions, please hop into the chat. Let us know exactly what you think. And then James will be able to respond to you. You see we're popping your responses up online as we go along. And so James, where I'm looking, we still have about 30 seconds, I think, before people are hearing this. But we're talking a lot about lead magnets. So I think that's maybe where you could start talking.
Okay, so we'll be diving into explaining what lead magnets are and how to create lead magnets. So we'll get there. But what I want you to work on first, after you've started to fill out your market audit. So we have someone who says their website is a 10, but clients, I'm assuming client referrals or following up with previous clients, that's a 1. Okay, so we now know something that we could put some energy and attention towards. And let's build right off that as we're waiting for more comments to come in. Let's talk about the clients. I want to kill the instinct that we all have that says we need to market to everyone. And what I'm going to really propel you to do and urge you to do is to create a very specific avatar for the perfect client that you want to be working with. So when I talk about niching down, the biggest objection that comes up right away is, I don't want to niche my business because I don't want to turn away any work. But the important thing to understand is clients are not hiring generalists. They're hiring specialists. Specialists command trust, and trust commands pricing. So early in my career, when the market was crashing around 2008, my photo business was really struggling. I didn't know where my next client was coming from. I didn't have any predictable way to build additional revenue. And I legitimately thought, you know what? Maybe being a photographer, which I was 2 years out of college, maybe it was good for a while. Maybe this is just not for me. And I almost put my camera up. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to try something. I'm just going to try to focus on one thing. And if it's just a side hustle, great. And that one thing that I felt the most compelled to do was I wanted to focus my business in sports and fitness. I said, I'll just do sports and fitness. And let me hone in on that. So when I honed in on that, I built a few images in a portfolio just in sports and fitness. And then I started to call up businesses in my area who I thought would hire a sports and fitness photographer. And I would introduce myself and say, this is what I want to shoot. And all of a sudden, the bookings started coming in. And they started coming in a lot. And like I said, first I started in my area, just in Arizona. And then from there, I expanded to the southwestern US, and then the entire US, and then I expanded internationally. And I built an entire business predicated off one type of photography. Now, that objection or that fear of, well, I don't want to say no to other types of work, I never did. I still got hired all the time to shoot architecture. I still got hired to shoot editorial portraiture. I still got hired to shoot events. I still got hired to shoot commercial work. I got hired to shoot food and beverage work. I never was limited in any other avenue. The difference was, when it came to competition, in my area of specialty, it was really difficult to compete with me on. Now, let's say fashion. I couldn't compete as well at fashion. So maybe I get the job, maybe I don't, but I'm going to come up against competition. But put me in the sports and fitness realm, I have a competitive advantage. So when I think about niching down, I want to talk about 3 ways that you can niche down. Because the first thought is niching down your client. And that's the default thought is, you know what, I'm only going to serve the fitness audience, or I'm only going to serve architecture clients, or I'm only going to serve restaurants. That's one way to niche down. A second way that you can niche down is you can niche your service. So if everyone is providing, let's just say, well, early on, photographers provided photos and videographers provided video. Then all of a sudden you had some hybrid creatives come out and said, I'm going to do both. Then you had people coming out and says, I'm going to do all made for you packages where I create all your social media content for you. So that changed the service. Or you could have someone say, you know what, I'm going to produce your entire podcast platform for you. That changed the service. So you can niche not only your client, you can niche the service or the packaging or the offering that you're providing that client. Then there's a third way that you can niche down. And this is like, if you figure this out, you're about to hit a home run. You start to niche the outcome. So if everyone is providing just a portfolio of work, let's say you photograph models, but my work has the efficacy and the provability that gets people booked for jobs, you're selling a different outcome. That's bookable. So when I leaned into fitness photography, for example, that was my niche for the longest time, which is fitness photography. And I built a lot of business there. Well, then I changed the service. And we had actually built a whole conference, and we built a community and an entire mastermind around the health and wellness industry. And every year we'd have, 300 to 600 people attending these conferences. Well, that's changing the service. Then we focused on changing the outcome. And for a long time, we pushed ourselves to focus on helping our clients get published. So yeah, you can work with lots of people. Our work is shown to land in newsstand magazines. That's changing the outcome, okay? So 3 different ways you can niche. It's not just changing who your client is. So as you look back at that worksheet, you'll notice one of the first things on this worksheet in part 2 is identifying who you do not want to be working with. Who is not for you? And it could be a type of client. It could be literally a specific client. You're like, I never want to work with this person again. But it also could be a type of project that you have no interest in ever taking on again. Like, I can tell you, in my business, I've never been comfortable doing family portraiture. It is not something that I get super nervous whenever I get asked to do it. I don't feel I'm really good at doing it. I don't feel I have the energy that's very calming for children to get them to pose. Not even my own children. I've almost never taken photos of my own children because it is not my disposition to take good photos of them. So I found a photographer who is amazing at photographing them, and I hire her to do it, okay? So I know that there are certain types of projects and certain types of clients I never want to work with, okay? And once you start to set that aside, because honestly, marketing is just as much about repelling people you do not want as it is attracting people you do want, okay? So as you start to do that, the antithesis of that does start to come to mind. So we're going to dive into that, but I want to see I saw some comments pop up of people rating where they were at in their services. Okay, so website 10, clients 1. All right, the website 8, portfolio 8, SEO and email 1, but pretty good on follow-up process, sales process, repeat clients, and a client experience. So obviously they have a system set up where they are following up with their clients to try to engineer repeat business. I think that's outstanding.
It is outstanding. And I want to remind everybody that if you want to know where we get these materials, they're in the description. In the description, there's a link. You can click and get these handouts. You can fill them in, follow along. So we want to make sure that you are doing that. It looks like our Salt and Sea buddies are here. So glad I caught on to you guys. So nice to see you here again. Also, don't forget, this class is free while we're live. But if you want to watch this class after 24 hours, we're going to let it play for 24 hours. Make sure you click on the link in the description of this video. You can either become a CreativeLive subscriber, or you can purchase this class outright and download it and keep it forever. So James, it looks like we only have 2 people right now that have given us feedback on their status. And so in the comments here, this is a very highly interactive class. And so it's up to you. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out of this class. And so, James, we're going to go back to you now.
So as we're working through our dream client profile now, I want to go beyond demographics, and I want to push towards psychographics. I want you to think about the identity of this dream client, where they're at in their business, who they report to, if they're the decision maker, what goals they have, how they're measuring success. Also, what are their pain points? What are they afraid of when it comes to their business? What is their purchasing behavior? What would build trust with them? And then this last question is possibly the most important one. What are the touch points you have with this dream client? What publications do they read? What podcasts do they listen to? What conferences are they attending? What associations are they a member of? What social media accounts do they follow? The better you know who this dream client is, the less your marketing is going to feel like guessing. And the less it's going to feel like you're trying to reach everyone. Or that what it really pushes you towards is you're trying to become the obvious choice for someone. So I'll give an example of this. One of the biggest industries that I work in is the professional service industry. So I work with engineering firms, architecture firms, construction management firms. And so when I think about the touch points of those individuals, I think about the associations that they're a part of. I think about the newsletters that they subscribe to. I think about the conferences and events that they are attending. And those become the targets for where I need to be in order to get in front of them, to gain their attention, to start to attract them. So I found out, hey, you know what? Almost every single person within this industry is a part of this one marketing association. So let me not just pop into one of these meetings. Let me actually sponsor one of their meetings. And beyond just sponsoring their meetings, let me see if I could offer a service at their meeting to be able to show all the people in this organization what I can do. And that got me tons of leads. Or I found out, you know what, there's this trade show happening, and there's going to be a couple thousand people at this trade show. What if I had a booth at this trade show, not just to hand out flyers? What if I had a booth at this trade show to give away headshots for anyone that attends the trade show? The only people that attend this trade show are people who I know unequivocally are in my target demographic. They're the exact clients I want to get in front of. In fact, they're all the marketing individuals I want to get in front of. Well, let me just set up a headshot booth there and take free headshots for all these marketing individuals. And that got me over 160 leads in a single day, their information, their phone numbers, their email addresses, to build relationships for. And so many of them after that session, love their headshots, were contacting me, asking me to submit bids and submit my portfolio so that they could then take me to their entire company. So that's the importance of touch points. Where is this dream client already? This is not just about trying to get people to find you, it's about knowing where people are and going there. Now the final part of this is a positioning statement. The positioning statement, and you could, there's an expanded version of this in your resource kit as well with examples, but a positioning statement is, I help a specific avatar with a specific problem by offering a specific solution so that they can have a specific result. So for example, one of the things that I was workshopping around was, we own this studio and I love building custom sets for a lot of my commercial productions. So if I were to build a positioning statement around a business predicated on building custom sets, I help editorial and commercial clients who need a shoot that feels like a fully built world, not just a rented backdrop, by hand constructing custom sets from the ground up so every image feels like nothing else on the market. That's a positioning statement. I help an avatar with a problem by offering a solution so that they can have a result. So I'm curious if anyone's willing to share what their positioning statement is in their business. Who do you help? What is the problem that you're helping with? What is the solution that you're offering them? Remember, it's not just photographs. We're selling a result, we're selling an outcome. What are you offering them that no one else is? So what is your positioning statement? So as we're waiting for those to come in, we need to start to map out how a stranger can become a client. So this is the client journey. And when we look at that system again, so often, when I see people posting about client acquisition, they do it all as a funnel, where you have clients coming in at the top, and you'll have three parts. You have the top of funnel, the middle of funnel, and the bottom of funnel. And you could even say that the top of funnel is attraction. The middle of funnel is you're reinforcing your value to the client, and the bottom of funnel is where you convert them. But I struggle with that because it really just feels like you're just losing people at each step, and that there's no way to retain them or to keep them within your ecosystem, which is why I really prefer this idea of this cyclical relationship. You're attracting clients, you're reinforcing your value, you're converting them, you're retaining them, they refer you business, and then you repeat the process. So, a couple of years ago, I met a marketing director here in the Valley. And I submitted my portfolio to this marketing director because I felt like we could have a good working relationship together. She tested me out on a project. The project went really well. She then brought me in and hired me for her company. She then introduced me to the other marketing directors at her company, who then started hiring me for their projects. We're now into year 7 or 8, and we just landed one of our biggest projects with them as of 8:30 this morning. Almost, better part of a decade later. So we got in front of them, we showed our value, converted them into a client, we gave them a good experience, so we've retained them as a client. They've referred us to other people within their entire organizational structure, and that's led to lots of repeat business. Okay, this is cyclical. So think of it like, another way to look at this is just a relationship loop. So you want to know your client, who they are, what they need, everything that was in that profile that you just filled out. When you know your client, you are at a great advantage to pitch to them. What you offer them that no one else does, what your solution is, what your service is, beyond just here's my portfolio. Then, when you actually get the opportunity, you fully serve, you deliver, you over-deliver, and then you repeat the process. You stay in touch. And when you stay in touch, you figure out what they know next, or what they need next. And then around and around and around it goes. And this is how also you can take from, you know what, I just got hired, my first job with that company was to just do headshots for them. And then headshots led into a few marketing photos. And then a few marketing photos turned into building their entire image library for all their branding needs. By knowing what they needed, proposing what I could do for them, delivering it, staying in touch to find out what they needed next. And around and around and around it went, okay? So the reason I struggle with funnels is funnel implies that people just fall out the bottom and then you're done with them, all right? A loop implies that the client's outcome propels the next step you can have with the client. And it is at your disservice that so many photographers only invest in the front half of that relationship. And then they're confused of why that business never compounds. So if you were to look at page 3 of your workbook, you're going to see that client journey. And I want you to map out what that looks like for you. In the attraction phase, what are you doing to attract clients into your business? So we saw a few people already saying, well, I use Instagram or I use Google or SEO. What are you doing to get people to know you exist? From there, the next step, what are you doing that reinforces your value to them? This is an important step because just because someone knows you exist doesn't mean they like you, doesn't mean they trust you. So what are you doing that builds that trust or builds that rapport or increases the value that they see in you, your brand, or your business? What are you doing at that step? From there, what actual system do you have in place that you're asking people to purchase. I look at this kind of like an interstate. You're getting people onto the interstate, and at different points of the interstate, you have exit ramps. Now, some people are going to want to exit pretty quickly. They came across your stuff, they love what you do, boom, they're in the exit ramp, they're ready to buy from you. Other people, it takes years that they have to circle that loop. Building trust, seeing what you're doing. And I'm curious, and just put a 1 in the comment section if this has happened to you, where someone contacts you and says, you know, I've been following your work for years. I'd like to work with you. If that's happened to any of you, or if you've heard any machination of that, put a 1 in the chat. I'm just curious how many other people have experienced that exact same sentiment from a client. Because whenever I get that, 1, the response is, you know, I'm very flattered, you know, thank you. Thank you for following my work for years. But the other side of it is, it took them years before they trusted me enough to want to go to the next step. And that's on me.
James, we do have a couple of positioning statements. I want to make sure that we don't miss those. So let me just throw these out to you so you can read them and take note. If you're following us so far, the chat is lively. If you want James to respond to your direct questions and comments as we're going through all of these different things, these worksheets. By the way, if you don't have the worksheets, you can get them. They're in the description of this video. There's a link. You can download those. There's a lot of homework in this class that you can follow along with and fill out these surveys and things. We want you to do that. We want you to engage. Don't miss this live presentation. We are live right now, and so James can actually respond exactly to what you're asking and what you're saying. And so, James, I want to throw you these positioning statements so that you can react to them.
The Coachella Valley pet photographer. Okay, so let's start there. The Coachella Valley pet photographer is certainly more like a title. So I want to know what your pet photography business offers that another pet photographer would not offer. What is it that I'm going to get hiring you? I know where you are. And if I'm in Coachella, okay, great. But maybe there's 3 other people that do the exact same thing. What can you say that you do that no one else does? Now we start to hone in on what makes you unique. Okay, so like let's just like brainstorm a few examples. Like maybe you have a location that just looks so unique and so different in how you take your pet photos. Maybe it's your post-production process that creates an end result that is vastly different than your competitors can do. Maybe you provide a certain physical deliverable that no one else is doing, okay, where people can have a keepsake. You know, maybe it's on a certain type of print or something it is. This is what I want you to think about, is what starts to differentiate you enough that that becomes a unique position versus more just a title of where you are and the service you offer. Let's take it one step further, okay? I saw another one come up. I help the winter sports industry showcase a lifestyle to sell passes. Better. I like this. Okay, so a few little tweaks is, okay, the winter sports industry, I think, you know, outdoor active sports, showcase a lifestyle to sell passes. So are you selling this to like resorts, clubs? I'm thinking like you're trying to, like when I read this, I'm seeing like you're trying to sell to resorts. And you're trying to get like seasonal resorts to hire you to shoot their marketing and advertising campaigns so that they can sell their ski passes, their snow passes, etc. So I think you're pretty close here. So you have another comment, reaching out. This might be the, I was asking, what is the main thing that they are doing to generate leads for their business? All right. I help architects and engineers tell the story of their designs by creating images that convey their buildings as someone would experience them if they walked through them in real life. Love it. Love it. Perfect. Building your brand and video content that they won't find anywhere else. All right, so I know the service. So if I were to ask, what makes you a good photographer or a good videographer, they might say, well, I do good work. Or, the one I hear a lot is, I really listen to my clients. My question then becomes, so does everyone else not listen to their clients? And you may think that they don't, but that won't prove to be true. You may think you offer better work, but that might not prove to be true. Beauty is in the eye of the checkbook holder. Our work is extraordinarily subjective. So what do you offer them that no one else does? What can you provide further? Okay. It's not just better work. It's something else that you can then use as a way to just carve out your own, you could try to compete in a giant sea of everyone offering the same exact thing, or you can say, you know what, this is why my service offering is a little bit different, okay? So it's not just the work you do. I'm sure everyone watching this already does good work. What can you go beyond that? Michael Jordan Photography helps businesses build trust, credibility, and human connection through timeless executive portraits and strategic visual branding. Timeless executive portraits? Yeah, and strategic visual branding. I would just change, my only comments on this for correctioners, when I see the word timeless, I think, so I only need to hire you once because my photo's good forever, which, hey, if you're like, hey, my photos are so good, you only need to hire me one time, cool. Strategic visual branding, I just take that one step further. I like where you're headed, but strategic visual branding feels like, what did we used to call it? We used to call it just marketing speak, where if you're outside of a certain industry, it just feels like words crammed together, like strategy, strategic, synergetic is another word I would throw in there. Go beyond visual branding. What does your visual brand photos do for clients that they would not have if they worked with someone else? Okay. I help business owners feel seen and remembered through strategic media. Love it. I love this. I would encourage that business owners be a little bit more finite. So for example, Arizona business owners, Phoenix business owners, female business owners, small business owners, because I might own a Fortune 500 company and maybe you don't serve Fortune 500 companies. When I read this, I see entrepreneurs. I help entrepreneurs feel seen and remembered through strategic media. I like that. I help pet parents with in-home portraits of their pets so they're comfortable, especially if, yes, yes. This is more specific. So she took the idea and she honed the specificity of, I come to your home, so you don't have to go anywhere. This is convenient. This is directly to you. It's comfortable for you. It's even more comfortable for your pet. Love that. Like I got chills just thinking about that. So they're comfortable. You could take out aging and ailing pets. First part of that's perfect. I come to your home where you're comfortable and more importantly where your pet's comfortable, and I make the greatest gift that you can have as a souvenir of your pet. Love that. I help couples slow down and reconnect before their wedding through intimate pre-wedding sessions so they can walk into their wedding day feeling grounded and able to remember what truly matters. Love it. Love that. Pre-wedding sessions, it's such a niche service already. And if that's the main thing that you're trying to sell, and then maybe you upsell weddings, or maybe you have no interest in weddings. This is the main thing that you want to be known for, is the pre-wedding photos, which relieves the stress and anxiety of, if anyone that's been married knows, like you do not get to enjoy your wedding because you are constantly being ushered from one step to the next. And a lot of those steps involve, I have to take this photo with this person, now we have to go take this photo. And it consumes a lot of time when what you would really love to be doing on that day is actually enjoying that day. So the fact that you offer that before and you create something dynamic and amazing that they have that is not stressful, perfect. I absolutely love that. These are really good. So I like that you're taking this and you're actually peeling back the layers of, I just offer photos and videos to businesses. No, I'm offering a solution. When you position yourself as offering a solution, it becomes a lot easier for you to sell it. Selling is really scary for a lot of photographers. I hear so many photographers, well, I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at selling. It makes me uncomfortable to sell. And my response to that is, then you might not know what selling is. Because selling should just involve two things. Number one, you believe in the efficacy of what you're selling. So if you believe that your work works, your photos achieve their goal, your videos do the job that you say they're going to do. If you believe that, you're 50% there. The other 50% is you believe it's going to help the person you're selling it to.
That is fantastic. We have some more questions that are a little bit different. There's a lot of stuff coming in here, James, and so I know you needed a little water break, but I just want to throw a couple of these out to you. And because our mics can't be on at the same time because we're getting a weird echo, I'm going to throw them out and then I'll go back to you. But one of them was, how many portfolios do you have to have or customize for each potential client? Then somebody else, I think, commented on another question you had about the struggles, and they said breaking through and getting their first meeting was something that they're trying to work on. And then another thing, where do you go to get stuff? So Rob, I think Rob is behind by about 20 minutes. So he's commenting in the past, but he's talking about he goes to job sites, LinkedIn, and he goes with posts with images to get new clients. But maybe you could talk to these things, James. But before we go back to James, I want to remind everybody, if you just joined us and you want the handouts, the workbooks that James is teaching from, you can get those in the description of this video. There's a link there. You can download those. There's lots of homework and fun things to do. It's where you can sharpen your marketing for your specific business. Also, this class is free while we are live, but after it's live, we're going to let it play for about 24 hours. If you want to watch it after that, then click on the description of this video. You'll see how you can purchase this class, or you can become a CreativeLive subscriber, and you can have access to this class as well as a bunch of others. And by doing that, you support us being able to create more classes like this one. So having said that, James, I'm going to throw it back to you so you can sort of address some of these questions.
Absolutely love all the questions that are coming in, and so many of them, and I've been writing them all down as they've been coming in. A lot of them deal with really that first phase is, how do I get people to notice me? Okay, and I'm guilty of that too, which is I spend so much time trying to get new potential clients to see me that I'm overlooking clients that have already shown that they trust me and they like working with me. So for the last few years, we've started to build a better system to follow up with our previous clients, to reconnect with them, to get new touch points with them, to stay in touch with them. And that's led to a whole host of work that we would not have had if we were just only focused on new people. Now, I say that if someone's at the start of their career, they're like, well, I need people before I can have new people. I need the old people first. I hear you, and we're going to get there. Absolutely. So as you're mapping this out, your consumer journey, you can start to see where there are gaps in this. So like the aforementioned, like I had a gap of staying in touch with clients, so that was something that we've addressed. And it's actually turned into a lot more work, all right? So before we're going to dive into talking about what content we should be posting or what a lead magnet is or how to create a lead magnet, we need to understand the channels that people are in and how we can move people through these channels, okay? So as we kind of saw, really at the top of this, I asked, where are most of your leads coming from? A lot of photographers are leaning into social media, or they're relying on word of mouth. And really, there are 5 different channels of where your audience is, okay? So let's look at each of these. This used to be called like the 6 marketing sectors. The same spirit, I just think 5 works better for where photographers are now. The first, and in fact, I'm going to write this out so we can track this. All right. So the first channel is your owned audience. So when we think about your owned audience, this is your email list, it's your SMS list, it's your website and blog. The importance of having an owned audience is it can never be deplatformed. No, there's no algorithm blocking you from getting in touch with your email list. Your website is your home base. If you have all your other channels pointing at your website, you now have a place to collect your client information. Your blog and SEO content is that evergreen content that creates new doors to your website. Where your social media posts get buried, you can have long tail content that creates inbound traffic to your website in perpetuity. Looks like we have a comment. I've definitely been guilty of spending too much time focusing on new potential clients and not enough time on existing clients. I've been working on that this year. Good, awesome. Yeah, I think we're all guilty of it. And to have a system where you're following up is the right thing. Another comment, I host 2 free events each month. One is a pet-friendly nature walk, and the other is a pet-friendly street photo walk, because I also host the Coachella Valley Photography Club, and this allows them to overlap. You're maximizing your time, which is great. So one is a nature walk and one's a street photo walk. What I like about this, and I don't know your schedule, so I don't know if this is too much commitment of time, but what I like about it is your focus on community. Community, when we think about that client journey of attraction, reinforcing value, conversion, retaining clients, referring clients, and repeat business, building community is entirely in reinforcing value. You're reinforcing your value to your audience. You're giving them a reason, not just to know who you are, but to pay attention to you. That's vitally important. Cool idea to overlap. I love it. Yeah. Any time that you can bring people together is absolutely a brilliant way, which is the whole reason, like when I was in fitness, I was like, well, let's make a conference and let's bring people together and share best practices and see how we can help each other out. And the first year we did it, we had 50 people. 5 years later, we had 500 people. That's 500 people that we're selling to at the conference, okay? Okay, so back to your audiences. You have the audience you own. It is important to try to drive your audiences into an audience you own. Because let's just look at the next one, which is an audience you rent. A rented audience is social media. That's a rented audience. This is an audience you're borrowing. Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. They're good when it comes for reach and discovery, but has been very frustrating, I guarantee, for every single person watching this. you're at the control of an algorithm that you have no say over on who consumes your content. And do you remember that time, like 10 years ago, where you could post a single photo and get hundreds upon hundreds of people engaging with it, liking it, sharing it, commenting on it, genuinely engaging with your content, and it felt like, yeah, this is great. I'm just bringing all these people in, and then all of a sudden, now we're getting a fraction of that. It is so frustrating. And the reality is we don't own this audience. And they're constantly reminding us that we don't own this audience. So it doesn't matter how many followers you get, if another company is controlling how many of those followers you can reach. Which is why it's important to try to drive those followers into an audience you own. So we'll talk about how to do that. Because there's no algorithm standing between you and your email list. But there's always going to be some sort of algorithm preventing you from reaching your followers. So you have your owned audience and the audience you rent. And I'd mentioned like a blog and creating SEO content, evergreen content. SEO can be legitimately its own entire course. But the way to think about SEO in the simplest terms for photographers is you're trying to make your content on your website friendly for search engines to understand. Okay, and this has become, SEO has started to really pop up again, where like we leaned into SEO really big 15 years ago and we were focused on generating lots of web traffic. I saw a dip for a while, like maybe about 10 years, and now I'm seeing SEO surge back up. So a lot of the focus that I've had within my business is pushing back into content marketing for SEO purposes. So the simplest way to think about how to really leverage SEO is to write blog posts that answer questions that clients would be typing into Google. Like, how much does a brand photo shoot cost in Phoenix? What to wear for a headshot session? Using location terms in your copy and in your titles really connects you to that specific market. And then just publishing constantly. Like we try to put out, you know, we have a few different businesses. We try to do at minimum 2 blogs per month. If we can get it every week, even better, but at least 2 blogs per month. Because here's what's important to think about when you think about your website. If I were to ask you, what is the front door to your website? The answer for most people is going to be, well, the homepage is the front door. And that's not actually true. The front door to your website is any page that people found your website. And that means every blog you create is a new front door to your website, a new way for people to find you and your business and your content. So when we post blogs, like specifically for creative services, we try to do 2 types of blogs. We try to do blogs that are very we'll just call them SEO-rich blogs, meaning they're focused on keywords like the service we're offering, so commercial photos, commercial video, the location, a type of industry that we're offering it to, like corporate events. And then the other type we try to do is we try to unpack productions and go behind the scenes in our productions, which is another way to build interest with our clients, or to reduce the anxiety of working with us, is to show what it's like actually behind the scenes. So those are the really, like, if I only had to post 2 types of blogs, it would be behind the scenes content to build trust and rapport and reduce anxiety with potential people paying attention. And then the other one would be really service-based, SEO-based, location-based blogs where you're teaching, okay? So like I said, how much does a brand photo shoot cost? What should I wear for a headshot session? Best ways to prepare for a headshot session? What should I consider when hiring a headshot photographer in the Southwest? These are examples of stuff that you can come up with, okay? So our things were the SEO ones, and then we have a whole series we call Inside the Shot, and that's our behind the scenes breakdown. So each kind of serves its own function. Okay, so back to audiences. The next audience we have is an audience you earn. So when we think about an audience you earn, this is an audience you didn't pay for. Earned media is your PR. This is getting featured on a podcast, getting featured in a magazine, speaking engagements. Arguably, this right here, what I'm doing right now, is earned media. It is attention that you did not pay for. You don't control the platform, but being on that platform carries with it credibility. Someone vouched for you. If I'm a guest on someone's podcast, that podcast host is vouching for me to their audience. If I speak on a stage, which speaking engagements is one of the best things you can do, I'm in front of however many people are in that audience for 45 minutes or to an hour, building trust and rapport. Same with being on a podcast. When I'm on a podcast, I have an audience of however many thousand people listen to that show to build trust and rapport with them and to give them a reason to enter back into my ecosystem. And getting these earned media features is actually not that difficult. You can PR yourself, actually quite simply, by using the exact same process a publicist would use. The first is you research what outlets you want to work with. And by the way, go back to the touch points on your client avatar. Those are your outlets. Those exact ones are the ones you're going to be approaching. So you find out ways that you can get in front of them. So let's say it's a podcast. Does that podcast feature guests? Yes? Okay. Who do I need to get in touch with at that podcast? Go to the podcast website, list the show producer's email. Perfect. You've now done your research. Now you pitch. And a pitch to get earned media is incredibly short and incredibly simple. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I want to talk about on your show. That's it. That's the entire pitch. It's 2 sentences. Then when you get the opportunity to be a guest on a show, and if you send out enough, you will land opportunities. We've helped thousands of people land media features. We've never had a client not be able to land a media feature. It is shockingly easy. Then you just deliver on these shows. You deliver in these features. You give value, because what you're doing in any of these earned media opportunities is you're trying to give people a reason to enter back into your ecosystem. You are on a rented platform. So let's say a stage. I'm speaking at a conference. I have 100 people out in the audience. This is a rented stage. I have to give these people enough reason that they're going to follow me after this conference is over. I'm a guest on a podcast. I have to give the listeners of this show an incentive to engage with me once that podcast ends. Now, here's the one hard part about landing earned media features, whether it's getting a feature in a magazine. And I want to be clear, we're photographers, so when I say getting a feature in a magazine, I don't just mean like you're submitting photos trying to get your work published. Because believe it or not, and I've shot 800 magazine covers, not a lot of people look to see who shot a magazine cover. Like we do as photographers, we care, but no one else really looks that much. So shooting features for magazines doesn't get you the attention that you might think it would. Being interviewed by that magazine would. Having an article about you would. Writing the article would. Being interviewed on a podcast, speaking on a stage, being on your local news, being a guest on a local radio show. Those would get you attention. Where you're actually a voice or a contributor to this message. Okay? Speaking at a Chamber of Commerce, where you're giving value and then giving people a reason to get back in touch with you. So, like I said, there's one hard part about this. And that hard part is not technically difficult. It's that you have to follow up a lot. It can take 8 to 12 points of contact before someone ever notices you're pitching them. And that's not just for earned media, that's clients in general. 8 to 12 points of contact. So you pitch a client and you don't hear back. or you pitch a podcast and you don't hear back, 90% of people never send a follow-up. They assume, well, I guess I'm not good enough. They didn't like me. They didn't like what I was offering to them. I'll go somewhere else. So only 10% send a follow-up. And it's even less send a second follow-up or a third follow-up or a 12th. 8 to 12 points of contact before they ever notice you. And the fear is, well, I don't want to bother them. They'll tell you if you bother them. When I follow up with people I'm pitching to, whether it's I'm pitching to get myself on a podcast or I'm pitching to get a potential client's attention because I want the opportunity to work with them, I tend to follow up maybe once a month. That's not intrusive, once a month. But here's why this matters. We were pitching a client that I thought was perfect for me. I saw the relationship in front of me. I was like, I am the right photographer for them. They are the right client for me. They are the exact client on my dream avatar. So what I started to do was I started to reach out to them once a month with a postcard. I thought, I'm going to send a nice handwritten postcard. On the front is going to be one of my images, and on the back I'm going to write a note to them talking about the image on the front. Once a month I'll send it out, the first of every month. 9 months later, I've heard nothing. And it's easy to think all the things that we are thinking, which is, I'm not good enough, I should stay in my lane, they clearly don't like my work. But then one day I'm following the photo editor of this publication on Instagram, and they post a photo of themselves working late one night. I think the caption was late work nights or late deadline nights. They're sitting at their desk, and I noticed something on the wall behind them. There's one thing on the wall behind them. So, and it looked familiar, so I zoomed in on it. And sure enough, it was one of my postcards. So, really excited, I went back to find out what postcard it was, or when I sent that postcard. I recognized the photo. I was like, when did I send that photo? In January. We're in September. 9 months later. I've heard nothing from them. But yet my work has been on their work office wall for 9 months. And that was that light bulb moment. Keep following up. They just haven't found a use for me yet. And a few months later, we got hired by them, and it was a great relationship. But imagine I never sent another follow-up. Imagine I stopped at one postcard. At some point, they're going to forget, okay? So following up and intentionally following up is important, whether it's trying to get a client's attention or trying to get earned media to see that you exist, whether it's a podcast pitch or you're pitching to write for a magazine or you're pitching to speak in an event. And a way to follow up that doesn't feel intrusive. If you're worried, I don't want to bother them. Bothering them might be, hey, just following up. Hey, just following up. Hey, just following up. If you were to send that 12 months in a row, okay, I could see how that might be a little grating. But you could follow up in a different way. You could follow up to offer more insight. So, for example, by the way, I want to give more clarity to what I'd like to do. Here's another interview I did that I wanted to share with you that I think answers a lot of the questions I'd want to answer on your show. Or here's another project I did that is similar to the project I'd want to do for you if you're pitching a potential client. So you're offering more detail or more context to your pitch. The second way you can follow up is to just pitch something else. Hey, if that doesn't work for you, here's another idea that I also think would be interesting for you. Hey, by the way, I just shot this new project. I just wanted to share this with you because this could be a direction that your company might want to go in. Or a follow-up could have nothing to do with you. Like, we followed up with a client recently just because we saw they got featured, they got an award and they were featured in a local business journal. And so we took a photo of it and we sent it to them. We said, hey, congratulations. And I said, thank you so much. I'm so glad you got in touch. We want to talk to you about a potential project. Perfect. We got another bid opportunity just last week because there was a company that got an award. We saw it in a local business journal. We sent them a congratulatory message, say, hey, congratulations, we saw your company was ranked with this award. By the way, we're in the Valley too. If we can ever serve you, please let us know. They responded, yeah, actually, can you send us a bid for corporate headshots? Because of a pitch. Okay.
This is fantastic, James. We do have this comment here. Tiffinbox TV, I think that's Seishu. I think, Seishu, if that's you, let me know. Who is this Tiffinbox? But I think that's who that is. Good advice here, consistent presence or forever absence. I think that's a great way to put that. Either you're going to be consistent or you're going to be gone. Really, really good feedback. Hey, if you're just joining us, there are worksheets that James is working his way through that you can download. They're in the description of this video. Click on that, download these links, or download those documents. You can fill out these worksheets and sort of do a tune-up on your own marketing plan. The other thing is this class is free while we're live. And then we're going to let it play for about another 24 hours. But after that, if you want to see this fantastic class, then you need to purchase it, or you need to be a CreativeLive subscriber. There's a link in the description of this video. You can click on that. I think it just says own this class. If you click on that, you can zip over to CreativeLive. You can either become a subscriber, or you can just buy this class and own it forever. So that's fantastic. There's a lot of interaction here. This class is driven by your questions and your comments. So we've had a lot of discussions already. But don't forget that we are live. So if you have some questions for James, stick them in the chat. There is about a 20 to 30 second delay between what we're saying and what you're hearing. And so if you have questions, now is a fantastic time to hop into the chat and start typing those in, because James instructed me before we started. He's like, hey, please pop up as many questions and comment as possible. I want to be able to talk to these people directly. And so since we're live, don't miss out on that. So in the comments on the chat right now, you can interact with us. We have a lot of people right now watching, and we can even have more. If you like this class, please click on the like, give it a thumbs up. Chatting in the chat helps us reach more people. And also, I think there's a boost or something. I forgot what it's called, but if that's there, click on that. Help us get this out to everybody. CreativeLive is back, and we want as many people as possible to know about it, especially these free classes that are on CreativeLive. So there are a lot of people that are beginning photographers that maybe they don't have the funds to buy a class or become a subscriber. But if you do that, you can help us to reach out to more people, build community. There's just a lot of goodness here. So this is great. I'm seeing lots of hearts coming in through the chat right now, so that's wonderful. So James, without further ado, we're caught up on questions, but I want to send it back to you so you can keep teaching us all this wonderful marketing stuff.
So I want to refer you back to the resource toolkit, which is available on the class page, because in there we actually have just some fill-in-the-blank scripts that you can use when it comes to pitching media. Now, when it comes to pitching earned media, you really could have three goals with it. One could just be vanity. It would just be cool to see myself in XYZ publication or whatever it is. Fine, fine. Maybe don't spend a ton of time on it because there's not a ton of ROI. But the other two, there's actually a lot of ROI. The first is authority amplification. It would amplify your authority to say that you've been featured in a certain media outlet. So when I was doing a lot of speaking engagements, it was really helpful that I had work published in Entrepreneur Magazine. So when I was pitching myself, I could say, as featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. And that carried with it a clout that helped add a little bit more credibility and validity when it came to pitching. So authority amplification. The third, I think, is the most important, which is lead generation, where this earned media opportunity directly creates potential leads for my business. All right. So if I were to think like, when I wrote an article for Entrepreneur Magazine, that did not generate leads for me. Why? Because I'm in a sea of a lot of people contributing to Entrepreneur Magazine. How many of those people are going to be in my market that need my service? All of a sudden, that number becomes very narrow. But if I find, let's just say, a local magazine that I could write for and create content for, all of a sudden I can see a direct through line to new leads hitting my website, new leads hitting our social media, new inquiries coming in. Hey, we saw your article in this magazine. We'd like to connect with you. Or I heard you on this podcast. We'd like to connect with you. So the best way that you could implore an earned audience to enter into your ecosystem is to incentivize them to do so. And you've probably already seen people do this, where you're at a conference and the speaker says, you know what, I have my slides for you. If you just scan that QR code, you can download my slide deck. But what do you have to do? You have to enter your email address, or you have to enter your phone number. Okay? That's how they captured your information. So they've brought you into their ecosystem, and they say, you know what? If you connect with me on Instagram and send me a DM, all of a sudden we can send you that free resource. Okay? So this is how they are given a reason, or like, hey, you could download this entire slide deck. If you're a guest on a podcast, you can say, you know what, I have a free gift for your listeners. If you go to this URL, you can download that free resource. Or a lot of times this will come up when people do webinars. And they'll say, hey, by the way, I have a great resource for you at the end of this webinar. Go to this link, and here's how you can access it. All of these are incentives. You are giving something, you are offering something, giving people a reason to enter back into your ecosystem. So we do this a lot when I'm speaking on stage, which is we try to give something where people can take a next step with us. I would do this exponentially more than I would try to sell something from a podcast. Like I'm a guest on a podcast. I'm like, you know, please hire me for your next photo shoot. Once again, there might be people listening who are like, yeah, I'm ready to hire right now. I've listened to this guy for 45 minutes. Let's hire this person. But most people need a lot more nurturing and get a lot more value from us before there's enough trust and rapport that they want to work with us. So instead of trying to sell something from stage or on a podcast or at the footer of an article we write, we try to offer a free resource, added value, to invite them to join us into our ecosystem, where now they're in our email list or our SMS list or our social media content, where we can stay in touch with them, or they've subscribed to our podcast, where we can stay in touch with them, we can put content in front of them, we can continue to build and nurture that relationship so that we can increase the time until they are ready, or increase the speed that they go through before they have enough trust and rapport to work with us. We saw a comment pop up. Can we bring that back up on screen? It's like homecoming. Great topic and presenter. Thank you so much. Been following James's IG account where he drops business nuggets all the time. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's Seishu. He's a good friend, an old friend.
So this is not just do what I say, this is do what I do. When I am trying to, if I have something that I want to sell at some point, we try to build an email list long before we try to sell it. So when I had my conference, we really focused on building an email list. We actually built an email list of 12,000 in just a few years. And a lot of that list was from doing earned media, going out, speaking events, did lots of podcasts, lots of magazine features, local news features, and then we're giving free incentives for people to enter into our email list to get a free guide, a free resource, a free tool, and that then grew our email list. The rest of it we grew with advertising, but most of it we grew with using a lead magnet, which we're going to talk about how to create a lead magnet, okay? So that's what I would say. Like if you're going to be using earned media, whether it's an earned stage or a media feature within a publication, you will have a lot more success offering a resource and a value for them to enter into your ecosystem than you will be trying to sell something, okay? So one thing that can help with earned media is to have what's called a pitch page. A pitch page is super simple. It is a one-page document 8.5 by 11, and you have a lovely photo of yourself in one corner, and you're smiling. You have your name. Below your name, you have topics that you could talk about or write about or speak on. Then you can have a bio down here. Topics are more important, by the way. This is more important. That's why that's at the top. What you can speak on is more important than your bio. And then you have your contact information over here. Jump on Canva. There's 1,000 free templates. Just search press page. It is a nice addition to a pitch. It looks good. And it's already pre-designed for you. You just drag and drop your stuff into it. Super simple. So once again, pitch page, have your photo in one corner. The topics you can speak on, be interviewed about, or write about at the top, your bio and contact information at the bottom. The other thing that you could have that would help, particularly if you're going to do speaking engagements, is to have a speaking reel. A speaker's reel is just a 2 to 3 minute sizzle reel of you presenting. And if you're thinking, well, this is a chicken or egg thing, I've never presented, how do I get a video of me presenting? Set up a camera and film yourself presenting. When we ran our conference, we would get, let's say, about 100 people pitching to speak at our conference every year. The ones that we looked at first were the ones who had a speaker reel. Didn't matter how professional it was, we just needed to see that they had enough confidence to speak on stage. That was it. They could have been speaking in an empty auditorium. We might not have known. So you can make this yourself, okay? And you can start small. Like, once again, if your target client is a member of a local chamber of commerce, that's not a big audience that you need to present in front of. That's 20 people. Or maybe they're part of a very niche trade organization. Well, can you get in front of that trade organization and sponsor a luncheon? Or speak and teach at a luncheon, even better. Like I saw that architectural photographer who was watching live. Well, if you were to find an architectural group in your area, like, what is it? I believe AIA, Architects Institute of America, I believe that's the acronym. Is there a chapter in your area? Can you not only attend one of their luncheons, can you present at one of their luncheons on the visuals that help sell commercial architecture? The right visuals that help sell commercial architecture. You now have a pitch. It is a topic. It is of value to your audience. And without ever selling yourself, you're selling yourself. You're now the subject matter expert on the visuals that will help architecture companies best position and sell themselves in the marketplace because you're the one teaching it. That's what we think about when we think about earned media. So going back to the different types of audiences, we have audiences we own, that's our email list, which is why we try to drive people back to our email list. Audiences we rent, that's social media. Audiences we earn, that's earned media. We have audiences that we pay for, so paid. This is advertising. Advertising still works, but the landscape has changed a lot, and it's not so much a single platform anymore. It has become more expensive across every platform. That being said, there is still efficacy if you can justify the ROI. But there are 3 types of ads that you can run, and it is important to know the difference between the 3 and the efficacy of the 3. The first type of ad that you can run is an awareness ad. What this means is the advertisement does nothing except gets people to know you exist. If you were to boost a post, which by the way, don't, if you were to boost a post, that technically is an awareness ad. The reason I say don't boost a post is it really impacts the rest of your content. Create an advertising account with wherever you're trying to advertise. Take that same exact post, copy it, and then run that as an awareness ad. You can keep the copy the same, the image the same, everything the same. So you've probably seen these where you come across content from someone else's account and it just looks like a regular post. It's not selling anything, it's not promoting anything. And the only reason you clock it is because it said sponsored at the top. That's the only reason you clock that this was an advertisement and not just someone you're following already. And if the content works for you, maybe you follow it. That's an awareness ad. An awareness ad does not ask people to leave the platform they're on. Doesn't ask people to leave Instagram, doesn't ask people to leave LinkedIn, doesn't ask people to leave TikTok. Keeps them on the platform. And the reason, and because it keeps them on the platform, it is the least expensive ad you can run. So if you're just trying to boost follower numbers, run awareness ads. Knowing that maybe you want at some point to try to get those people who are entering into your social media to eventually jump over to your website and enter into your email list. The second type of ad that you can run is a lead generation ad. This is where you're asking for them to leave the platform, but they're leaving the platform to opt in to receive something. A free guide, a free resource, a free webinar, a free download, a free toolkit, a free video course, a free template. Like we've done this. I could have said, you know what, everyone? We have 4 made for you press page templates. Go to this link to download them. Everyone that would have went there is now into our email list, and now we can continue to market and build that relationship with them. I've done that exact thing from Sage when I've spoken on how to earn media. So that's a lead generation ad. You're asking them to opt into something. Now, it is more expensive than an awareness ad because they're leaving the platform. So not only is the platform going to charge you more to do it, because they don't want them leaving the platform, it's also going to cost you more per acquisition because you're going to have to serve it to more people to get more people to respond to it, because not everyone wants to click something and go somewhere that they don't know where they're going. So the incentive has to be good enough for them to want to do that. Now you can bracket these two together. So for example, we ran an awareness ad a couple of years ago, and what the ad was it was just me teaching for an hour. It was an hour-long video. That was the advertisement. We then ran a lead generation ad giving a free gift, but we only ran it to people who watched at least 30 minutes of the awareness ad. That saved us an insane amount of money because if, let's say, 1,000 people watched the awareness ad, but only 100 of them made it past the 30-minute mark, only 100 of them have been served the next ad. And if they watch more than 30 minutes of me speaking, that might be a warmer audience to serve the next advertisement to versus a colder audience who clicked away in the first 2 minutes. So this is a way you can start to control your ad spend a little bit. The third type of ad is a conversion ad, where the advertisement itself is selling a product or a service. It is the most expensive type of ad that you can run because 1, you're getting someone to leave the platform, and 2, you're getting them to actually swipe a credit card. And I don't know about you, but I don't sit on Instagram holding my credit card. I'm not there to buy stuff. So it is really hard to sell someone who you've never connected with. So what we tend to do when we run ads, and to be completely transparent, I've never run an ad for my photography business, but I've run it for our conference, I've run it for our mastermind, I've run it for webinars, I've run it for coaching platforms. So we have run lots of advertising. The way we run ads, if we run ads, is we put them through these 3 phases. We run awareness ads to filter our audience. We then run lead generation ads to only people who engage with the awareness ads. And then we run conversion ads only to people who engage with the lead generation ads. So we're filtering out anyone who has already clicked off, they're not interested, we don't want to spend extra money on them. Advertising can be extremely expensive, so if you do it as wisely as possible. The last type of audience you own is direct. This is the thing that makes a lot of photographers very nervous. Direct audiences is called manual outbound. And this can make a lot of people nervous. But it's the thing that has the fastest feedback loop, meaning it will produce results the fastest. Manual outbound means you are approaching your target client, your target audience, to say, here's what I want to do for you. Here's who I am, and here's what I want to do for you. When we want to build business quickly, we go to manual outbound. It works 100% of the time, every time. But it makes people nervous because I don't want to seem pushy or I don't want to seem salesy. No, once again, if you believe that your service achieves the results that you say it's going to, and you believe it's going to benefit the person you're selling it to, it is incumbent on you to offer it to them. So the way we approach manual outbound is we go back to that client avatar, and we know where all these people are. We then approach them where they are, and we pitch ourselves relentlessly, unapologetically. I think I saw in the comments someone was saying ever presence. It was something like ever presence or never forgotten. I love that. Unapologetically positioning yourself as a resource. Consistent presence or forever absence. Yeah. Be proud to position yourself in front of a potential client. Every month, we try to put out at least 20 new outbounds to prospective clients, at least 20. Sometimes we do a lot more. Where we find 20 leads within our target demo that we are trying to approach, and we say, we want to work with you, here's what we want to do for you. Here's the value we can offer you. Now, this doesn't mean that a lot of them are going to say, oh yes, we need to hire you right away. Now, a percentage will say, well, let us know what you can do, or send us a proposal, or we might have something, can you send us over a rate sheet? Now, a lot of this is just, I'm just trying to get a foot in the door to start building a relationship. So I had mentioned, like, we had sent out a message to a company that won an award. And they says, thank you so much, we'll keep you in mind. Then 2 weeks later, they came back and said, can you submit a proposal? Now, had we not sent that first message, they wouldn't have kept us in mind and they wouldn't have asked for the proposal. Manual outbound is the thing that will generate more sales than anything else. I would put all my energy into manual outbound. If I had to choose one thing, it would be manual outbound over anything else, because it's just the most effective use of time and energy with the best results. It just makes people nervous, and I understand that. I put some scripts in the resource guide that can help. These are not copy and paste, but it's just to give you a little bit of extra confidence when it comes to sending that first email.
This is fantastic information, James. There are a lot of people still here watching. We're about 600 people so far in this class. This is fantastic. This is a highly interactive class. So if you're watching us right now live and you have questions, we're just passing, I think, the 2-hour mark of this class. It's jam-packed with fantastic comments and content. But if you have questions, now is the time to start typing those in the comments in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are. You can ask James anything you want about marketing. I'm curious to know, the people that are watching now, what type of advertising are you doing? What type of audience are you working with? Is it the paid? Is it the earned? And if it is the earned, how did you do that? So we know that Kayla, consultancy, we know about her story, how she pitched to the local news and did some events, and she was able to help some animals as well as get on the news to promote her stuff. We have other people. I think it's really cool. So Seishu is in here. He's got a channel, Tiffin Box TV. If you don't know about Tiffin Box, you should just Google it, hop on there, check it out. but just by chatting here. He is helping to let people know about his services and his education and stuff, so I think that's really, really cool. We do have somebody in here that says, yes, another James Patrick class, so they're very excited that you're here. This is really cool. I want to remind people, put in your questions and your comments right now so that James can see those. But also, this class is free while we are live. We're going to let it play for about 24 hours after we're done here with the live, and then after that, the way you can see this, the only way, is either you purchase this class or you become a CreativeLive subscriber. And if you want to know how to do that, zip over to the description of this video, and you can see it says right at the top, buy this class. You can click on that and you get all that information. Also, James is working through some workbooks. You can download those right now. So again, in the description of this video, there's a link that you can click and you can download those little workbooks. And as he's teaching and moving along, you can follow along and fill out the different forms and things and look and see how your marketing is doing. Where do you need to improve? There are some exercises that he's already gone through about how you can sharpen the edge of your marketing knife and cut right to the business that you want to get to. So a lot of good stuff here today. Again, there's about a 30-second delay between what James is saying and what you hear. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, let us know in the chat. So this is the most interactive that it can possibly be. Take advantage. It's live. All right, James, back to you.
All right, a few more things I want to address just on manual outbound. One of the things is, well, where do I find these potential contacts? Where do I find people that I should be getting in touch with? So if you're, let's say, a portrait photographer, or let's say you work on the wedding side, creating strategic partnerships is a way to do manual outbound. So partnerships with planners, venues, stylists, hair and makeup artists, anyone that has a touch point with your ideal client before you might. On the commercial side or the editorial side, there's brand marketing contacts, there's agency art buyers, there's magazine editors, people who work as a decision maker for the companies that you want to be working with. Doing this research is honestly, it's like selfishly one of my favorite things to do. Like, I work in the corporate side and I work in the commercial side often. So I will pick up business magazines in my market all the time, trade journals in my market all the time, and I read through all of them to see what companies are opening their businesses here, what companies are expanding here, what companies are hiring here, who's getting hired where, who's getting a promotion. Okay, all of these, like, I just consider this my market research, as going to Barnes & Noble and picking up trade journals and seeing what's happening in my area. That's a fantastic way that I like to do research in my market. And in your market, there's going to be so many resources like Facebook groups of your target demographic, community programs, church events. All of these are ways that you can find the people that you can be getting in front of. Rotary clubs, Toastmaster programs, meetups, networking events. All of these are ways that you can find people or create strategic partnerships to get in front of these people. We saw a question coming up related to speaking events. Do you have a suggestion for those that don't like speaking yet? So the word yet is the word I want to circle, because to me that means you want to like speaking in the future. Because, listen, if you don't want to speak on stage, don't speak on stage. You're not required to speak on stage. You're not required to be a guest on podcasts. This is about leaning into your strengths. Like, I enjoy presenting. It is something that I get I have a lot of fun with. It lights me up. I have a lot of energy when I present. I enjoy it. So I'm going to lean into that strength. I enjoy doing interviews with people. So I'm going to lean into that. I really do not enjoy being on TV. So I've done TV news media interviews, but that is not a priority for me. I don't enjoy that. I get too nervous. I don't feel it's where I do my best. So that's not something I'm going to prioritize. If I absolutely hated public speaking, I would not do a lot of public speaking. But if I found that I wanted to get better at public speaking, then I would lean into it. And the only way to get better at public speaking is to speak publicly. That's it. It is not a, it is a skill set more than it is a talent. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And speaking in front of a small group is so much of a lower barrier for entry than speaking on a large stage. So if the idea is I don't want to speak in front of lots of people, you can speak in front of a few people. And where to find where to speak. One other resource, I did a Toastmasters program. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I don't get any kickbacks from them. But what it did was it forced me to give speeches every single week for 7 years. So I got very comfortable presenting in front of people. Okay, we have another question coming up. When creating a proposal or a follow-up on, hey, send me your prices, what do you send when you have limited info about what they want? I absolutely love this question. So you pitch a client and you say, I'd like to work with you, and they say, send us your prices. And you're like, well, for what? Because maybe you're like me on the commercial side and everything has a value associated with it. So I can't just send you blanket prices because I customize my proposals based on what a client needs. If I get a response like that, my response is going to be, I'd love to hop on a phone call and chat about what you need. Because this is going to do something. One, it's going to qualify that client. Because if they're willing to jump on the phone with me, that means that they're willing to spend the time to talk about what they want done. They're investing in me. They're taking the time to do it. And that right there, that's a huge green flag. Hey, can we jump on a call? I just want to chat a little bit about what you're looking to do. And if I get a pushback on that to say, well, just send us your rates, then that might be an opportunity where I would look at it and say, I just need to build this relationship more. This is not something like they're just trying to price qualify me or price disqualify me, more the latter. And that's not something I want to get caught in. Okay? But if I can get any specificity of what they're looking to do, even rudimentary ideas, then I can create something for them. So if I can jump on a call with them and I can find out, you know what, yeah, we might want to do some headshots for the office, perfect. Let me create an a la carte proposal for you, for your office, and then maybe I add in some customization there. By the way, if you want just these headshots that you mentioned, like the 5 headshots you mentioned, here's what we can do. But I was going through your website, and here's some other areas I thought we could do while I'm out there, and here would be the add-ons for that. Now you've given them options. You've created value adds for them, and you can upsell yourself. So I would look for it as an opportunity to have a conversation, is what I would really do. That's a really good question. If I'm your potential client, at what point do I want you to go away because you've become a pest? When you tell me to go away is when that happens. But if I'm of the belief that I know that I could benefit your business, then I'm going to stay in touch. And my clients really like working with me, which is why I've had some clients for over a decade that continuously hire me because they like working with me. We booked a big project this morning, and I found out that not only do I get to go out to the project location, but the marketing coordinator that I often work with, she gets to go out as well. And the response is, hey, Dream Team gets back together. I was like, absolutely, this is the best thing. I'm so excited for this. Because it is the Dream Team when I get to work with that client. And honestly, like, I have dream teams with a lot of my clients. So if I have a good rapport and relationship with my client, I'm not pestering them by staying in touch. I'm staying in touch because there's a relationship there. You can have 2 types of relationships in business. You can have a transactional relationship. A transactional relationship, it would be like a fast food chain where they're just focused on the next transaction. After I process this transaction, I'm moving on to the next transaction. That's why when we think about those 6 steps of the client journey, the people who focus only on the first 3, that's more transactional. It's like a one-night stand, instant gratification, and then we're moving on. There are then those who focus on a long-term relationship with their clients. And that's my position. I want to build long-term relationships with my clients because I know that it costs way more time, energy, finances to get new clients than it does to retain clients. Also, creating a lifetime value with the client is where we can build most of our revenue. So I'm going to invest a lot of my energy in there. And I'm going to focus on building relationships with my clients. That means we give to get. That means we focus on trust. We focus on rapport. We focus on ensuring that we remain a value and we are an asset to them. That's why I've had clients that say, you know, I've never worked with a photographer as long as I've worked with you. And that's a compliment, and it's also a warning. I've never worked with a photographer as long as I've worked with you, which means you've continued to show value, so we continue to hire you, but if you don't show value, we're going to move on. That's a great challenge. I love that challenge. So that's a really good question. I like that.
Fantastic. We are caught up on questions, but don't forget, if you do have questions, you can stick them in the chat while we're still live. We have time to talk to you specifically. It's really cool, the sense of community that we're seeing. We have people that have been in here over the last 4 or 5 months. We have people that have, like Seishu, that are coming back from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. Ab's in here right now. Vic the Roman is back. I think he checked out, had to do some work and came back. There's just a really, really fun sense of community going right now. If you just want to say hi to people in the chat, do that as well. We encourage community here. We're caught up, James, so let's get back to the teaching.
All right, so in your workbook, there's going to be a channel map where you're going to give an honest assessment of where you're at with each of these 5 channels. Do you feel that you are really good at having an owned audience? Or are you really leaning into just a rented audience, which is all social media? Or, you know what? It's all about earned audience or paid audience or direct audience. Where are you at with each of these? And give yourself a rating. Like, we have a very robust and strategic email list. I'm going to say we're at like an 8 on that. Rent, we do decent on social media. We could do a little bit more. Earned, we've done very little earned media over the last 2 years because we're focusing on other things. Paid, 0. Direct, 10. This is where we earn most of our new business, is manual outbound, direct. So that's how I'd rate myself. And I'm curious for you to rate yourself and let me know, like, there are certain things where I look at this and say, you know, I don't do a lot of paid advertising right now. In fact, we do no paid advertising right now. We've had ads toggled off for about 2 years. But I have no interest in it. So I'm not going to spend any time on this. This right here I see as an opportunity. We used to do a lot more earned media a few years ago. We generated a lot of leads that we then brought into audiences we own. This is an opportunity for me for the rest of this year and going into next year to do more earned media. So you can rate yourself, and if you're willing to share an area that you feel that you would benefit focusing on moving forward for the remainder of this year or moving into next year. Is there one of these channels that you feel needs to get a little bit extra attention that would benefit your business? So let us know in the chat what that channel would be. All right. So while we're waiting for that to come in, we're now going to talk about the actual content we are creating that builds the trust and rapport. So we've talked about building attention and trying to get people to see us. Now let's talk about how we get them to actually like us and want to work with us. When we think about content marketing, we want to move from this idea of, well, things I post, and that's the definition, to this is a tool that helps reduce anxiety for the clients. This is a tool to nurture. So content isn't about advertising. It's about reducing anxiety. And the best content answers questions before a client really ever asks them. Clients aren't purchasing when they become aware with you. They purchase when they're ready. But your content marketing is what keeps you top of mind as it builds trust while they get ready. We mentioned, like I asked that question, it says, has anyone ever got that comment from someone that says, I've been following your work for years. I'd like to work with you. Our goal is to speed up that time frame as much as possible. So there are 3 types of content, regardless of what platform you're using, or a multitude of platforms, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, email, podcasting. You have three things that you could do. And they're not exclusive, meaning you can combine them. The first is you can entertain your audiences. This is not required. In fact, this makes some people uncomfortable. I don't want to be like, I've seen so many people post a meme recently, which is, don't you miss the days when photographers can just share a photo and that would be all they needed to grow their business? I don't want to be dancing on social media for attention. I'm not here to entertain people. I just want to get hired for work. The meme is something to that effect. And my response to that is, the audience changed how they want to be entertained. There was a time where we could just share our work, and that was all it took for people to be entertained and want to engage with the content. The social media platforms didn't change that. How we wanted to consume content is what changed it. The algorithm's not going to do anything we don't want it to do as consumers. If we lean into a certain type of content, the algorithm is going to push that content. So when people started leaning into video, what did the algorithm do? It pushed video. When people started to engage with stories more, which they are right now, the algorithm pushed stories. When people start to really respond to carousels a lot, which they are right now, the algorithm promotes carousels. It does not serve any of these platforms to push content that people don't want to see. So we've always been in the publishing business as creators in the 20th century. We've always been it. We just need to be aware of the types of content people want to consume, where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were content just consuming our work. But just sharing our work now feels more like an advertisement than it does offering value to our audience. So once again, three goals you can have with your content. Number one is you could try to create content that entertains in some way, shape, or form your audience. Now, entertainment could mean to you humor. Doesn't have to, but it could. The second thing is you're creating work that is informational. You're educating your clients. You're creating resources that support your clients. Now, this has the most value because it demonstrates your expertise. It gives a preview of what it's like to work with you. So, for example, if I specialize in working with models trying to get signed to an agency, and I did portfolio shoots and digital shoots, I might try to create lots of content on what models need to know about posing for their agency digitals, what models need to know about styling for their portfolio, what models need to know about what different types of shots that they need to have. I would try to think of as much content as I could that supports my target demographics goals in their photos. We had someone watching the live who does pet photography. I would come up with all these free resources on how to get the best photos of your pets. Meaning I'm teaching people how to take amazing photos of their own pets, and at some point they're going to think, well, I'm just going to hire the person that knows how to do this. Someone that is, we had someone focus on tourism, watching the live, on tourism photography and adventure sports for tourism photography. I would do all these things about what makes a tourist photo that sells versus a tourist photo that gets scanned over. What stops the scroll versus what gets scrolled on over. I'd create a bunch of resources on that. You are making yourself the subject matter expert on what photos sell in that industry. So you are informing your clients while creating content that, by the way, if I'm in that demographic, I would still find that content entertaining. The third is content that's inspirational. And this is helping audiences picture an outcome that they would want to have. Okay, so three types of content. You can entertain, you can inform, you can inspire, or some homogenation of those three. So let's bring this now into a a ladder. So if we were to look at content that's trying to move clients up a ladder, we want content that gets our clients to become aware of us. So good content that gets people to become aware of us. Behind the scenes. Time lapses of you working. Showing the before and the after. Showing you on set and then the final photo. All of these would fall under awareness. Okay? It's stuff that just gets you in front of your audience. One ring up is content that builds trust with your audience. Case studies are a phenomenal piece of content that builds trust. Breaking down your shots to show your methodology or your thought process that went into making that image successful. Breaking down your post-production workflow. Breaking down your pre-production workflow. Anything than just the result, you're showing the process. Process builds trust. Then you can have authority, one ring up, authority content. Authority content is also case studies, but media features. You can brag about the media features. Hey, I was just interviewed on this podcast where we talked about the top 10 best ways to take photos of your pets, or the top 10 photos that every pet owner should take of their pets. Or, hey, I was just on this resort advertising podcast, and we talked about the top photos that every ski lodge needs to have to grow their membership. Or what creative is working for country clubs right now to sell memberships. And you can share that with your audience as well. It builds trust, it builds authority, it builds clout. Okay? Before and after on your creative concepts, that's also building authority. Next would be conversion content. This would be like a frequently asked questions. If you were to do a carousel of frequently asked questions, the questions you get most as a pet photographer, the questions you get asked most as a model photographer. You are bringing people who are so close to purchasing to the line of the purchase. You're giving them the rest of the information that they need to make an informed decision. And then the top tier of that ladder would be retention content. Retention, spell retention, right? There's no N there. Retention content would be like highlighting your client's success stories. Anniversary check-ins, repeat client stories. So we would do things like this when I worked a lot in the fitness industry, where we would interview some of our top clients and publish those interviews. We even did it with our commercial clients, where we did video interviews, like mini documentaries, talking about the success of a project. So it was a case study built in with a client spotlight, built in with an authority amplifier. And they did amazing for us because it showed the process, it showed our clients working with us, it showed the behind the scenes, it showed the end result, and it showed the relationship between us and the client the whole way. So we had a lot of success with those. All right, we have someone who has graded themselves. So their owned audience, they give themselves a 4, rented audience 2, earned 4, paid 0, direct 7. And they want to focus more on referrals and introductions and email and SEO going forward. Referrals and introductions, so word of mouth is part of more direct, manual outbound, word of mouth. I would put that in the same category. You get, technically that could be a 6 category, but I see it as it's more in manual outbound because you're still managing a relationship with the person you're asking for the referral from. And if we don't have time to get to this, I'm just going to say it now. How you ask for a referral will really impact how likely you are to get that referral. So for example, if I were to say, if you know anyone who could benefit from our services like you did, please let us know. And we have a percentage where someone might think of something. A way I could ask the same question to get a better result would be, who do you know that would benefit from the same results that we gave you, or from the same services we gave you? Not if you know, who do you know? We've shifted the question. Now the client could say, I'll think about it, or I'm not sure right now, and that's absolutely fine. But when you shift the question of who do you know, you have a much higher likelihood that they're going to say, actually, yeah, I'm part of this marketing association. I connect with a few marketing people from similar firms. They'd definitely be able to work with you. Then you have a follow-up question. Would you be willing to email to introduce me? There you go. That's how you get a referral. All right. You're amazing. This is the best marketing seminar I've been to. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm getting so many ideas. My hardest issue was being someone with too many talents and figuring out how to niche or share that. Yeah. I'm not doing TikTok dances though. No, me either. Me either. Yeah, I understand the frustration with feeling like there's so many things I like to do. I don't want to narrow myself and just have to do one thing. You don't. But what I am saying is, if you have a specialization or something that you can say, I do all this other stuff, that's fine. But this is the thing I excel at. That's how you can start to build that. So how do you pick a niche and stick to it when you have so many interests and have experience in all those interests? That's a really great question. There are lots of things that I enjoy doing, but I was able to find common threads with them. And remember earlier we talked about there are 3 different ways that you can niche down. So you can niche the type of client you work with, but maybe you like working with clients across industries. So you can niche the type of service you provide them. And maybe that's how you're differentiating yourself. Is if everyone's offering just A, and I'm offering A, B, C, or heck, I'm way out there, I'm at D, E, F, that's a way you can niche yourself and differentiate yourself. Or you're changing the outcome of what you're offering. You're offering a different result to your clients. And that's right there, like I said, that's like the home run if you could figure out what that is, okay? So you don't just have to niche down who you're offering services to. And like I said, just because you have an area of specialization doesn't mean you say no to other work. Say yes to whatever you want. When we were focused exclusively on the fitness industry, I still worked in other industries all the time. And in fact, what I ended up doing was just having pages on my website dedicated to other services that were standalone pages. So they weren't part of the overall consumer journey for our fitness audience. But if I were approaching an architecture client or a commercial client or a brand product client, I already had a portfolio put together that I could pitch directly to them. And that was a way that I can have my specialization where, and this doesn't come from a place of negative ego, it came from a place of confidence. Good luck competing with me at that time in that industry because of the clout we had built in that over 10 years. But yeah, a lot of people can compete with me in fashion. Good luck to me trying to compete with someone in fashion. Good luck to me trying to compete with someone in another industry. And there were times that I won in these other industries, and there were lots of times I didn't win. But I almost always won in that other industry. So that's what we think about when we think about having a niche or a unique differentiator, a unique selling proposition, is it's the thing that you can stand on that no one else can stand on, okay? So there is going to be some common thread, some way that you can start to connect some of these things together, whether it's the type of client, the type of service that you're offering this to, or the outcome that you're offering it. And it's going to feel different for everyone, and it should. Because if it felt the same for everyone, then we'd all be doing the exact same thing.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering those questions. We are caught up on the questions we have in the chat. Don't forget, if you have a question, type that in to the chat. Let us know. James is here for you right now live. We've got some more stuff. Also, if you're joining us late, we are working through this with some workbooks, and you can get those by clicking on the description. There's the link to download those so you can rate yourself. You can check out and see exactly what you need to do to beef up your own marketing strategy. So I highly recommend that you do that. Also, a reminder, this class is free while it's live, and then we're going to let it play for about 24 hours. And then if you want to watch it after that, you need to either purchase the class or you can become a CreativeLive subscriber. Again, in the description of this video, there's a link. You can click on that and check that out. I just want to say, one of the coolest things about being on CreativeLive is this online community. In the chat, we're seeing people ask questions and then other people answering those questions, and we're getting a lot of great feedback. And so Seishu, for example, said, hey, this reminds me, in fact, I'm not even on air right now. This whole time I've been talking and I'm not even on air. We'll edit that out. So I'll repeat that. If you have questions, we are looking at those in the comments here. Maybe you heard me on James' microphone. That's hilarious. But we love this online community. We love how people are interacting and letting us know what their questions are. We're getting things like this from Seishu that says, hey, this reminds me of this book, exactly what to say, check it out. We love it when the audience answers the question, and I'm probably, because I'm 30 seconds ahead of you, I'm about to see people saying, you're not on the screen. Well, that's funny. I am doing all this by myself here, so this is sort of funny. But anyway, if you're watching this, it's free while it's live. And if you want to own this class, there's a link in the description. You can click on that and you can either become a CreativeLive subscriber or you can purchase this class that helps us create more classes and build more community and help more people change their lives by learning about photography, the business of owning their own business, whether that's photography or graphic design, doing Photoshop retouching. We've got classes for all of that kind of stuff. So we really love that. We still have more to go. There are workbooks if you're joining us late. Again, the link is in the description of this video. You can click on that and download it. And so you can get all of the stuff that we're working through. All right, James, we are caught up on questions. And so now I'm going to go back to you. Sorry, everybody, for clicking the wrong button here. But now here's James to keep us going here.
So if you're like me, and I want to hear this in the chat, and just type in me, M-E. You get overwhelmed thinking about all the content you need to create to stay in front of and stay relevant and stay top of mind to your audience. So if that's you and you're like, you know what, I have to run my photo business, I have to do all the accounting, I have to clean the studio, I have to do all the invoicing, I have to do all the post-production, and I have to do all this content, I just want you to type me in the chat if that's something that you feel like is something that hits you or impacts you. Because it is overwhelming and it is intimidating because of how big of a task it seems. But what I want to implore is that there are ways to become far more efficient whilst not reducing the efficacy of your content.
While we're waiting for those me's to come in, we do have a question. I just want to get this to you, James. So I'm going to pop this up on screen and then let you respond to that. And then if that's you, type me in the chat here.
Okay, so it's okay to market all those specializations on your Instagram account, for example. It won't confuse your potential customers. That's a really good question, and I would say no. I would not have a lot of personalities on your Instagram account. I would try to keep your account as focused as possible for the given audience, because if I'm seeing content that I don't feel is relevant to me, I'm not going to engage with that content. And if I don't engage with that content, that is going to decrease the exposure that that content gets to your entire audience. I'm seeing a ton of me's pop up in the chat. Yeah, okay. So when I think about having multiple personalities, particularly when it comes to social media, I do not advocate in having 100 Instagram accounts. It takes too much time, it's too much energy, and the ROI for it is not really there. So what I might do if I have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde approach to my business, meaning I have two faces of my business, I might choose different platforms depending on what I want to market. So for example, I had the biggest market when it came to health and wellness for so many years. But then at some point, I wanted to move away from that industry. It took years of shifting my content from content that supported health and wellness clients to content that supported the creative industry. Years of posting content that wasn't clicking because I was trying to rebuild an audience and lose my previous audience. Slowly let them atrophy away whilst building a new audience. I did that, it took about 6 years. Where now I'm finally feeling like I'm at a place where my content on my account, it's clearly for photographers. Now, if I wanted to post something else, let's just say I wanted to post about my work as a photographer, that's not going to do that well. Why? Well, because people aren't following me on my account necessarily to see my work. They're following me to learn from me. Now, if I'm showing my work while teaching how to do that work, well, that's different. There's a value in it for that client. But if I'm just trying to aggrandize my own work, that's not going to work for this audience. So I'm very specific on my main account that this is for the creative community. So if I'm going to post anything, it has to benefit them. And if it's not going to benefit them, it needs to go somewhere else. So just as an example, I have a less than healthy addiction to scary movies. I absolutely love them. I love watching them. I love rewatching them. I love studying them. I love deconstructing them. I can't really post about that on my account because that really doesn't benefit photographers that much. Unless I'm deconstructing shots and lighting from movies and talking about the creative approach, which that's actually a really good idea. But on a whole, that's not something that really benefits my audience. So it's not something I really can talk about. So just for fun, a couple friends and I started a separate podcast where we can just talk about all that stuff. We have our own audience. We have our own network for that. And it's a way that I can explore that without ever infringing on what my main audience cares about and wants to see. Okay? So I have created another channel for that, but I'm very careful because my time is finite on where I'm going to be spending that effort. So where's my biggest ROI? Well, for the longest time, it was in sports portraiture. So that's what most of my account and most of my marketing was focused on, sports portraiture, meaning I didn't spend a lot of time doing other things, even though I was doing or accepting work in those areas. I just didn't have to proactively market it, or I didn't have an interest in proactively marketing it. So only you can determine your schedule and how much time you want to dedicate to any independent platforms. But what I would say is try to be as myopic as possible in the positioning of any one single platform. Because once again, if I'm following you, and let's just say, we'll use the pet photographer. If I'm following you because I love pet photography, and then all of a sudden you want to share your family portrait work, this is not for me. I'm out. And I'm not going to engage, or maybe I'll just unfollow. Unfollow would be actually the least egregious of those. Continuing to following and not engaging when I see your content, that would hurt you more. Because that's just saying to Instagram, I don't like this content. Stop showing it to me. So you'll keep your followers, but your percentage of how much your content will show to them will go down. So I hope that added some clarity of try to have a very focused approach on who your audience is and what content that audience wants to see.
Fantastic. So James, you would say you have an obsession with scary movies? Okay. All of the questions have been answered. Again, if you have questions for James, comments, stick them in the comments below. Let us know in the chat. This is live. So James, back to you. Let's keep going.
at our last two networking events we had here at my studio. In both of them, I brought up lighting techniques from recent horror films, and both times I brought them up, I just got blank stares from the people at our networking events. So I learned my lesson. Okay, so let's talk about efficiency when it comes to content creation. What I really advocate is coming up with themes and then breaking themes into multiple pieces of content. This is how we can really start to create lots of content where you can start to be what's called omnipresent. Someone had said, like, forever present. You want your clients to feel like you are there in front of them a lot. But we don't have the time to always create content. So we are constantly repurposing content or segmenting out content or breaking pieces of content into multiple pieces of deliverables. So what we'll do is we'll start with a theme. And we'll take that theme, let's just say our theme is lead generation. So lead gen. I come up with a theme for lead gen. From that, I'm going to create what I would call a pinnacle piece of content. Now, a pinnacle piece of content for me is super simple because I have a podcast. So my pinnacle content is going to be my podcast. I'm going to create that podcast, meaning I'm going to write what that podcast is about. I'm going to pour my energy into that podcast. Okay, so I've created a 20-minute podcast on this. Now, from this, we're going to take that transcript and we're going to adjust it, and now I have an article for my blog or Substack. We're going to take some quote tiles from this, and I now have a carousel for Instagram. We're going to take some snippets from this, I now have some Reels / YouTube Shorts. Also, the full podcast is on YouTube. And we could throw that same short on TikTok. So one piece of content we were able to repurpose in a multitude of ways without a lot of time and energy and effort. What this just requires is we just think about themes, and we try to think in quarters and we try to think in months when I'm working with my team. So we'll just think, okay, for Q3, let's focus on, we're just going into Q3 now, so our focus is on conversion. So getting clients who we've been warming up for the first 2 quarters of the year, getting them over to actually purchase with us. So we've come up with content that we feel is like the type of content that would just push someone over in the trust with us. So we're doing a lot more case studies, a lot more behind the scenes tutorials, just really showing what it's like to work with us, because we want to get clients who are really close to being like, yeah, we've been watching them, let's get over there. So we'll take a case study. Like here's actually a specific example. So we took a case study of a brand photo shoot we did with one of our corporate clients. And the pinnacle piece of content we did was a blog where we broke down the whole process of the photo shoot. That became an email that we sent out to all of our warm leads. That also we repurposed into a carousel. We had a Google My Business post that led back to the blog. We had a LinkedIn post that led back to the blog. Once again, we're trying to drive all traffic back here, because once they hit our website, that's more of an audience that we have a chance to capture and hopefully get into our email list. So everything else we're doing, like LinkedIn, Google My Business, Instagram carousels, stories, Reels, we're just trying to drive them back into the website, is what we're trying to do. So this is one piece of content that we repurposed over the course of a full week in multiple channels with multiple touch points, because there are some people who only see our content on LinkedIn. And there are some people who only see it in their email. And there are some people who only see it on Instagram. So it's our way to be omnipresent without having to create individual pieces of content for every single platform. Now, that being said, I've listed out a lot of platforms, but there's only a few that I prioritize. So the ones I prioritize are, I use email for my nurture. Like that, I drive people into my email as much as I can. As soon as I connect with a potential client, I want them into our email list. We then use our blog. Right now, I said like SEO is really big right now. So we're using our blog a lot right now. And we're getting a lot of web traffic because of the amount of blog entries we're creating across our different businesses. So blogging is something we're doing a lot right now. And we are experimenting with Substack. We're experimenting with it. Not great results yet. We're just seeing where it's going. Okay, so we're testing things out and experimenting, and then Instagram is a good tool for awareness for us. So I've chosen just a few channels, and there are certain channels that I just don't have time for, or I'm not going to make the time for, and that's just the decision I've made. And for you, it's going to be different. There are going to be certain people watching this who their entire business is going to be predicated on leveraging LinkedIn. I've had measured success on LinkedIn. I would not say I've had overwhelming success on LinkedIn. There are people who TikTok is their jam, and that's where they're going to build the most awareness, and it just drives tons of traffic into their website. Great. And also, like, your disposition as a person is also going to illuminate where you are going to succeed most. I love speaking, so I'm not afraid of being on camera. Podcast is great for me. YouTube is great for me. Instagram is great for me. I also really like writing. I was a journalist. That was my background. I was a journalist before I picked up a camera. So I'm not shy about putting pen to paper and cranking out some blog articles. So if I could lean into those, me being on camera, teaching or speaking, and me writing, that covers a lot of bases for us. And for some people, it has to be something else. And if you're nervous, like, I don't want to be on camera, find other ways that you can communicate that is of value to your audience, where you're not putting yourself in a place where you just don't want to be. All right. Someone else mentioned, you know, they're not a public speaker yet. And then the question was, well, does yet mean you want to be, or does yet mean I have no interest in this? So you kind of know yourself. So this is a way that you could crank out a lot more content in a lot less time to increase that omnipresence, okay? So we created a worksheet where you can just generate ideas. Ideas for content. Ideas for content to build awareness. Ideas for content to build trust. Ideas for content to amplify your authority. Ideas for content that could lead to conversions, or ideas for content that could help with client retention. So you could fill those out, but I would love for people to share what some of their ideas are for content that you would like to start creating. Because every type of piece of content that we produce was an inspiration at some point, and then we tested the efficacy. And sometimes the results were immediate, and sometimes it took time to build something up. So share your ideas of content that you've come up with. Maybe it's for Instagram, maybe it's a blog, maybe it's for podcasting, maybe it's for YouTube, maybe it's for TikTok. I just want the idea. I want to hear what your inspirations are for content that you feel would be of value to your audience. So I'll give an example. We were posting lighting tutorials on Instagram for years with very little success. It just wasn't working. It wasn't clicking. Okay, so we're just refining and testing and just seeing. And to be clear, when I say testing, I don't mean you post something once and say, that's my full data set. You test numerous times. You increase the data pool to actually get data that tells you whether something's working or not working. So we had done a few years of just different types of lighting tutorials. None of it was clicking. One day, we're like, we should do another one. And I handed my phone to my makeup artist. I said, just film me. It happened to be a very long production day. I was a little cantankerous. I was feeling a little snarky. She turned the camera on, and I looked at the camera and I said, all right, I'm going to show you how to take a photo that doesn't suck. And I laughed as soon as I said it, because I'm like, that is really egotistical. But let's keep it in. Why not? Let's see what happens. It did really well. It did very well. because there was a subversion of expectation and it caught people off guard. So I was like, well, let's try that again, because once again, one video is not enough to prove efficacy. Let's try it again. Let's do another. I'm going to show you how to take a photo that doesn't suck. And that one did well. Let's do another one. That one did well. We did a lot of them. We did dozens of them. And they all did fairly well. And that was the formula that we had figured out. We're like, okay, this is working. And if we wanted to teach lighting concepts, we now have an approach to do this. So testing and efficacy is part of this, okay? And getting data back to understand what the feedback loop is like is part of this, okay? That's why, like, when people are launching a podcast, my advice is to launch months worth of shows before you start to look at your download numbers. Because you want enough data to understand what episodes are getting downloaded, why they're getting downloaded more than other episodes, so you can understand what topics are more relevant to your audience than other topics. All right, I like to scroll content that is not related to photography and see what works well for them and how I can convert that to pet photography. I love it. I love that. Absolutely. I get inspirations from content all the time. A lot of the inspirations I get are, I like following chefs, and I like seeing how chefs orchestrate their reels and prepare their content. For me, I get a lot of value out of that. One, I find it really entertaining, but also food influencers, chef influencers, people who teach cooking, have such a refined approach to their pacing and how they construct their videos. And I think just looking at that alone, from how they introduce a video to then going into showing the behind the scenes to then going into the final reveal, it's beautiful. And you could learn so much from that. I started following a chef over the pandemic. I was getting into vegan cooking around 2020 and 2021, and I was just curious. I came across this chef, and his whole platform was vegan cooking. I was like, oh, this guy has so many recipes, and his approach was so simple. You know, scene one shows the finished product. Scene two is the buildup of all the things he's doing to create the product, and then scene three is scene one all over again, except this time he bites it. And it was so simple. Every video was the exact same. And then he had dozens of them on his account. So I did what we do is I binged it. Just like we do on Netflix. You find something you like on Instagram, you look at their account to see, is there other stuff that's like this? Because I want more like this. We all do it, so we all should do it ourselves. And I found a lot of content that had that, so I followed him. And every time he came out with something new, I was consuming it immediately because, one, I expected it. I would have looked it out had it not been there. It's like podcasting. Like if a podcast that you listen to every week skips a day, you notice it. You notice when it's not there. All right? So I was consuming his content, and then all of a sudden, what does he do? He drops a book for sale, pre-sale, ordered immediately. The exact client journey in such a finite amount of time. Came across his content, served the value I needed. I started consuming his content, building trust with him, building interest in him. He dropped something for sale. I've converted. I'm now a client of his. I bought both of his books, and they're both outstanding. So this is, I love that someone brought that out, that they're looking at other industries to see how does another industry build attention with their audience? And what can I learn from that for my own audience? Success leaves clues all the time. So you can start to chart out where you're at with your content and what content you want to spend more time on. But I want to know if anyone has any ideas that they're willing to share on content that they feel would be of value to their audience that they're trying to build.
So right now we are caught up on the suggestions. So we just had one, so scrolling content that's not related to photography. I also love this because there is this principle in the creative world that says that everything that you experience informs everything that you create. And so the more experience you have through art, through culture, through travel, through conversation, through all of those different things, it could be interacting with an animal or any kind of input that you get is going to help you be a more creative person. So I think this is a rock and roll perfect way to be a little bit more creative. Other than that, we have people that are hopping in and hopping out. It's getting a little bit late on the East Coast right now, so I think that's what's happening over there. So without further ado, James, we are caught up. If you are just joining us, let me remind you that you can download the worksheets for this class by zipping to the description of this video. There is a link there that you can get the worksheets. You can follow along and do a little health checkup on your marketing. Also, if you want to own this class, there's a link there, or you can become a CreativeLive subscriber. This class is free while we are watching it, but after that, we're going to let it play for about 24 hours, and then it's shut off. The only way you can see it is if you purchased it or if you are a CreativeLive subscriber. So make sure you click on that and don't miss out on this amazing thing. We have a little bit more time here. We have a lot of ability to ask James questions and give us your comments. So don't miss out. While we're live, you can type in the chat and let James know exactly what you're thinking. So back to you, James.
So we've talked a lot today about lead magnets. And there's been a lot of questions of what is a lead magnet? How do I create a lead magnet? How does it get implemented into my business? What a lead magnet is it is a free tool or resource or item of value that you are offering to your audience in exchange for their information. So I guarantee everyone watching this has signed up for one. A free webinar, a downloadable ebook, a free resource guide, Photoshop templates, Lightroom action sets, lighting tutorials, where someone has released something and you said, well, that would help me. I want that. You go to a website, you enter your email address or maybe your phone number, and boom, it's now in your inbox. And what you've done is you've done two things to the person who's given you this. One is you've signaled, I'm paying attention to you. And two, by giving your information, you've also said, you can stay in touch with me. Now, maybe you used a spam email address because you know that they're going to be emailing you and you have no interest in it. That's fine. But for a lot of people, they're going to want more information, more value. Okay, so that resource that we are giving is a lead magnet. And it's not one hard, fast thing like you often see ebooks or downloadable guides as lead magnets, but it can really, I mean, I've seen physical books be offered as a lead magnet, where by giving your information, they will send you a physical book. Now, that's a very expensive lead magnet for the person to push out, but lead magnet nonetheless. So the way a lead magnet works is you are taking your traffic that you're getting, and this traffic is from advertising, this traffic is from rented media, so like just your organic traffic, advertising, earned media, all of it, speaking on stage, all of it is traffic. Okay, all of it is attention. We're then creating a lead magnet with one goal is to get their information so we can nurture them. So email, or a lot of them are using SMS now. We did SMS for a couple years. The reason we did SMS for a couple years is because it had something like a 95% open rate, whereas email is around 20%. But it's more expensive, and I think people just got burnt out on it after 2020 and 2021, so we toggled off SMS. Email is still working really well, and we have an open rate of around 50%, so we have a really good open rate. And once you have your email and you're nurturing them, then you lead to conversion. I'm going to type CTA, call to action. A lot of photographers, maybe they have traffic, and after that, then they have hopes and prayers, right? So a lead magnet is the thing we're going to be creating that the intention of the lead magnet is we want people to see enough value in this lead magnet to onboard with us. So what makes a lead magnet work is one of 4 qualifiers. The first is the lead magnet solves a very specific, clearly felt problem. So if your lead magnet is very vague, that's not going to work. There's not enough specificity that I have an interest in that. The second is it positions you as a subject matter expert while delivering value. The third is it immediately feels doable, achievable. So if I were to release a lead magnet that were to say, here are the 5 steps that are going to make you $1 million as a photographer, that's probably not going to do that well because it doesn't feel achievable. It feels too outlandish. I don't buy that. But if I were to say, here are 5 steps to get 1,000 people in your email list, that seems plausible. That seems doable. That seems attainable. And then the last one is it connects directly to what you're selling. So you are connecting the lead magnet directly to what your actual offer is. So, let's take portrait photography. If you have a whole lead magnet on styling yourself for a portrait photo shoot, that would connect to what you're eventually selling. If you had a lead magnet on how someone should grow their business as an entrepreneur, that in no way connects to you as a photographer, so there's a disconnect here. So we have to have a consistent through line between what your lead magnet is offering and ultimately what you're going to sell. So for example, if my lead magnet is all about Photoshop tutorials, but then I'm trying to sell business, there's a disconnect here. Okay, so it solves a specific problem, it positions you as the expert, it feels doable, and it connects to what you're trying to sell. So a bunch of ideas, and I believe we put those ideas in your resource guide, but a bunch of ideas are like a brand photo shoot checklist, a wedding planning timeline, a headshot portrait guide, a location scouting guide for outdoor photography, a corporate photo shoot planning guide, a magazine submission checklist. Okay? There are things that would benefit your specific clients that you could create a guide for. And the guide could be a PDF. It could be a video of you talking. We've done videos. It could be a webinar. It could be a template that they download. Like, once again, you are not limited to one thing on this. Okay? Now we're going to think about a title for this guide, once you think of it. An effective title would be something like 4 steps to get published in a national magazine. Why does this work? Well, it works because, one, it's specific. Specific in that there are 4 steps, so that's finite. It's not 55 steps, there's 4. That's doable. To get published in a national magazine. So it's specific, it's finite, and it feels achievable. An ineffective title would be 10 strategies to grow your photography business. And the reason this is ineffective, yes, it's finite in that there are 10 strategies, but 10 strategies sounds a lot more opaque than 4 steps. 4 steps seems very clear, very definitive. 10 strategies, I don't know how big a strategy is. That's more of an open-ended word. And 10 is more than 4. There's no time frame. 10 strategies to grow your photo business. In how long? By how much? There's no named outcome. Okay, so it just lacks specificity. All right. So the more you can hone in and get specific in your lead magnet and the value that that lead magnet gives your audience, the more likely people are going to respond to it. Like, we had released one that was, it was something like, this was in fitness. It was something like, I think it was 10 strategies to grow your health and wellness business. And it, like, we were running ads for it and it did really poorly, meaning we were spending a lot of money on advertising to get impressions. And we released a 4-step one that went gangbusters and we were getting thousands of emails for very little money. We've done it organically releasing content just through Instagram, and one was, I'm trying to remember the specific name, but it was something like 10 lighting setups you can do with a single light. So it was specific, it was finite, it was a very clear deliverable, okay? And it did very well, organically. We put no advertising behind it, and we got several hundred people to sign up for it just by posting it a few times in our stories. And I think we did one main feed post. Now, when someone signs up for your lead magnet, you need an autoresponder to trigger. And if you're not familiar with an autoresponder is a series of emails that your CRM sends out automatically. And it gets triggered the second someone signs up for your thing. I think a 3 email set works perfect for this. And there are so many options for email servers, and they range from free to super expensive. They all are good, and they all are frustrating at the same time. Pick one, use it, and change it if you don't like it. All right, we have a question that came up. I'm guessing this can still work for fine art, photography, final works, and possibly commission for things like book covers. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you're selling, because you're not just selling your services, you're selling the actual work. And absolutely, like, when I think about, like, I follow this poster restoration company, and I don't buy restored posters at all. But what I'm obsessed with is the care and detail they spend on the restoration of these printed products. It is, there's a romance to it, there's a beauty to it, there's an elegance to it that makes me so obsessed with the tactile idea of a printed item. There are a few photographers who create these giant prints, and I love watching the prints come through. And if I were in the market, that is the type of content I would want to see, is the actual production of a print. There's an artist I follow who pencil draws the most realistic portraits you've ever seen. It is insane that these look like photographs, and she does it with a pencil. And I immediately went to find out how much these things cost because of how stunning they were, because she was breaking down the process of how they are created. So absolutely, like, content like this can absolutely be used for fine artwork. Okay, so emails and your CRM, like I said, they range from free to super expensive. Pick one, test it. If you don't like it, change it. And you can start free. Like, you don't have to go with the most expensive one. All right, so right away when someone signs up for your lead magnet, they land on a landing page. So we're just going to put a landing page right here. Landing page is super simple, and all your email services will give you the option to create a landing page, or you can just create one yourself. A landing page just has a few things. It has a graphic of the guide. Let's say it's a book, so you have your book. A headline that says, here's this amazing book, and here's the value it gives you. It has a place for them to enter their name and their email address, and that's it. That's all that's on that page. Nothing else. The reason there's nothing on that page, there's no header, there's no footer, there's no other links, there's no learn more here, there's no bio. The reason there's not much else on this page is you don't want people to do anything else. You just need them to do one thing. Put in their name and email so they get this thing. That's it. So that landing page triggers the first email. The first email fires off immediately, and it is the thing that they asked for, your free guide, your free resource. And when we send this out, we actually put your free guide, if we're sending a guide, in the subject line. Put it in brackets, we put it all caps. Like, we don't want them to miss this. Your free guide. It's inside here. And now in this email, we do two things. One is we introduce ourselves, who we are, and we say, we're going to stay in touch and send you some more resources. And by the way, here's that thing you asked for. That's what we do in the first email. 1 to 2 days later, automatically the second email gets triggered. And this is, the nice thing about this, this is automatic. You pre-program this and it does it for you. The second email, we send a bonus gift to them. So if this was like an outfit styling guide for headshots, maybe the bonus resource is looks that work on almost anyone, like outfits that work on almost anyone, right? So maybe it's like a shopping list or something like that. Like or like what's in your go-see bag. Like you create something else that's of value to your target audience and you give it as a bonus. And maybe you have a soft call to action in here. Hey, by the way, if you're ever interested in getting some portrait work, you can reach out to us anytime. It's soft call to action. Then 1 to 2 days after that, you file off email 3. Email 3 is the offer. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. We'd love to work with you. And you put it in a CTA. So 1, 2, 3. Okay? After 3, they just go into your regular email list. So we do 1 to 2 emails per month to our regular email list. And that's nurture emails. So 1 to 2 times per month, we send an email to them, and this is like our case studies, this is our behind the scenes, this is our content marketing that we're creating that we feel is of value to our audience, that we're nurturing them. Because if they didn't buy in those first 3 emails, remember, like I said, it's kind of like an interstate. They're not ready to get off. They don't want that exit ramp. They're not ready to go into a sales conversation. So let's give them more value. Let's keep nurturing them, keep giving them a reason to pay attention to us so we can hopefully get them into a sales conversation sooner rather than later. Okay? So we use lead magnets and earned media all the time. It is something that really is a way to capitalize on the attention of the audience. You know, I had mentioned like when you're doing public speaking, like your slide deck can be your lead magnet. If I were so inclined, those resources that we're giving away with the CreativeLive class could have been a lead magnet. We're giving them to you because you're attending the class, but that would have been a great example of a lead magnet. So there's actually a worksheet for you to build out your lead magnet from what it is, what problem it solves, what the call to action is, how it positions you as the expert, as well as what you want to have your email say. And in fact, then in your resource guide, we have scripts for you on what your 3 emails can say. So you can modify them to fit your needs. So it looks like we had a comment or question pop up. Curious your thoughts on using digital products, either a website or a site like Gumroad as a lead magnet for photo video services. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that, of what that is. Digital products, though, like when I think digital products, like, I mean, an ebook is a digital product. A Photoshop action set is a digital product. A Lightroom recipe or formula is a digital product. And they all work fine as lead magnets. But I'm not familiar with what Gumroad is. So if you want, Angel, if you want to add a little more information or context to that question, I'd be happy to add a little more detail to that answer. So in your workbook, you can build out what your lead magnet could be, as well as the emails that you would put out for it. And like I said, we have some scripts that you can copy and use and modify for your needs in the resource guide, already done for you. This is another area where people can start to get a little nervous and say, well, I'm bad when it comes to tech. I'm not a tech person. I just like to take photos. I break tech as soon as I touch it. Fine, hire someone to do it. Hire someone to build it out for you. Like that, you can hire people quite affordably to build these things out for you, or you can learn to build it out yourself. Like so many of these things, like in the year we're in now, have become so egregiously user-friendly that they can be implemented with little to no experience. And there's tutorials online for everything right now, regardless of what platform you set yourself up on. There's a tutorial on how to do exactly this.
Absolutely. James, we're caught up, I think, on questions. If you're like Angel and you just joined and you're wondering about these worksheets that James is talking about, you can download them for free. Just look in the description of this video. You can see there's a link to the class materials. And then also, this class is free while we're live. But if you want to watch this later, we're going to let this play for about 24 hours so people around the world can see that. But if you want to watch it after that 24-hour period, then click on the link at the top of the description of this video, and it shows you how to purchase this course, or you can become a CreativeLive subscriber, and then you get access to this class as well as the entire catalog. And so it's a huge value. I want to remind you, this is an interactive class. If you have questions, if you have comments, let us know in the chat. We are live for just a little bit longer, and then that way James can get to your questions and comments. You don't want to lose this valuable resource. We have a master at work here, and so don't miss out on that. So James, let's keep going.
So we're at that point now where we want to start culminating all this together. And this is where we want to start building out the marketing playbook. And you could build the timeline for what you want that marketing playbook to be, whether it's the next quarter, the second half of this year, or you're thinking ahead and you're trying to build it out for the next year and a half, okay? So we've also created a one-page marketing playbook. What I want you to do is I just want you to start realizing that anything is figure-outable. Figure anything out, and done is significantly better than perfect. The best marketing plans only work because you're actually using them. The worst thing you can do is to fill out this entire workbook, get all these ideas, and then you close it, you put it on a bookshelf, and you're like, I'll get to that on Monday. And then Monday turns into 2 weeks, and then turns into 2 months. And then you're like, you know, I attended that course on a marketing plan. Maybe I should dust that off. And that's a lot of runway that we've lost here. I had an idea about 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, for a book. I really thought this was going to be a great book. And I started writing it. And I was working on it. I was like, okay, this book, it does not exist in the marketplace, and I'm going to make this. But then I got, busy, the day-to-day. And I was like, you know what? I'll work on this later. And later turned into a while, a couple years. Eventually the book came out, and I got it. There's a problem, though. My name wasn't on the cover. My name wasn't on the cover because my version was still in a draft on some external hard drive that I never finished. But enough time had elapsed that someone else had the idea, they wrote the book, and it did great. If you are able to create foresight on something, like we focused this whole session on foresight, creating foresight in your marketing, in your business development, in your sales, and you don't take action, you only are left with hindsight. So action is required. Putting this stuff on paper is part of this. Then taking action on the things that we put down. So when we think about building a marketing playbook, the reason we made it only one page is I don't want you typing out a 20-page marketing plan that you're not going to look at again. You'll spend 5 hours typing something up and not 1 minute actually putting it into action. But if you're able to sink everything down to a single page, that feels doable. Who is the ideal client? Where are they right now? What offer can you put in front of them? Why are you the right person for them to work with? How are you going to get them into your ecosystem? When are you going to be following up with them to build the trust, to build the rapport with what content are you putting in front of them, and when are you going to be asking for the sale. So you're able to write down all these things in a single page, little quick notes, so that when you start on this tomorrow, not next week, not next month, you have a specific action set to do. You have something specific that you can test. Even if it's just, I'm just going to be testing a new piece of content to see how it nurtures my audience. That's the next step, is the new piece of content. Or, you know what? I'm finally going to set up my email list. You set it up tomorrow. You know what? I need to create a lead magnet because I need to actually get people into my email list. You have the plan built for tomorrow. Or, you know what? I heard everything he had to say, and I agree. Manual outbound is how I'm going to get my next client. I'm committing to reach out to 10 people tomorrow. Specificity. And something that is actually doable is something that you'll actually take action on. And then from there, we threw in an extra page where you can build this into a full 90-day plan. But do the one page first. And then start taking action on the one page. Then build out the 90-day plan. This presentation was not just about like, hey, let me just give you a bunch of Instagram tips for what's converting right now. Like I can tell you, short form videos converting, carousels are converting, and organic stories that you create, not just share, are converting exceedingly well. There, that's Instagram for you. What you wanted this to be was, how do I create a blueprint for marketing? How do I create predictable inbound traffic that I could nurture and then I could convert into clients? And then how do I engage them in a planned way to get repeat business and referrals? So when we look at that, we talked about how we're attracting our audience. We talked a lot about how we're reinforcing the value to our audience. We talked about opportunities to convert. When it comes to retention, the need to follow up and to keep that relationship loop intact, to stay atop of what your clients need next so that you're the first person who can position yourself to serve that. How to ask for referrals. And then how to repeat that in a circular way. So that this doesn't feel like a random scattering of action items that you're doing, but you're able to create an order to it, where you know the number of pieces of content you're creating for your reinforcement. You know how often you're reaching back out to your previous clients. You know how often you're approaching new clients, or where your new clients are, or what steps you're going to take to get them. And then you know when you're trying to ask for those conversions and when you're trying to get them into that sales cycle. So this is something that we can build out in 90 days, in 180 days, in a full 360. And this is what we repeat every time to identify who we're approaching. And by the way, this is something we refine every year, because our clients evolve every year. So what we're offering should evolve every year. What we did 2 years ago does not work right now. And that's okay. We're figuring out what works today and then what works tomorrow. And that's just keeping your head on a swivel and being curious enough to pay attention to what is working in the marketplace and seeing if there is a way that you could refine that approach and test it for your own business, which is why I loved when someone brought up that they look at other industries. That is curiosity. And I think curiosity is easily the best trait that a business owner or an entrepreneur could have, because they're always asking, well, what would happen if? I'm curious to see what would happen if. So I absolutely implore all those who've tuned in to actually invest the time to do the worksheets and to go through the resource toolkit, Because once you start putting it on paper, then you can start taking the next step, which is actually taking action.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, James. This has been a fantastic class. I think everybody in the chat agrees. We had, Vic said, this is good stuff. We've had so many positive comments today. Thanks everybody for joining us. I want to remind you that if you want to watch this, you can watch it free right now. And we're going to let this play for about 24 hours. But after that, if you want to see it in the future, if you want to go back and refresh, fast forward, rewind, go to those good parts that you want to sort of look at over and over again, then you can click on the link in the description of this video to purchase this class, or you can become a CreativeLive subscriber. That way you have access to this class and a bunch more, thousands actually. And so you can do that. Also, the handouts that James has been using for this entire class, there's a link for that in the description of this class as well. So just go down there and do that. So we're caught up on all of the questions. James, I'm just curious if you have any final closing thoughts, just a sentence or two to close us out tonight.
Well, I appreciate everyone for tuning in to this. And the thing I want to leave with is this isn't just about teaching marketing. Really what I want you to think about when you think about this whole conversation is understanding and giving the most attention to how clients move through their connection to you as a business owner, how they first find out about you, what of your content they are actually interested in consuming, what about what you're doing gets to implore them to seek out further information, to actually connect with you, to actually do business with you, to want to refer others to do business with you, and then to stay a client of yours. Because when we're shifting the positions and we put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer, we can start to make better, more informed decisions of how we want to operate in the shoes of the business owner.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, James Patrick. Thanks everybody for watching us. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Give us a thumbs up, a like. Also zip over to creativelive.com to see the thousands of classes that are there that are available for you to learn any type of creative process. It doesn't matter if it's InDesign or Photoshop or Lightroom Classic or Evoto or shooting in the studio. It's audio mixing, watercolor painting, travel photography, you name it. There is a class that is on CreativeLive that is for you. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you again next time.